Yo, what's good, party people? It's your man's Uncle Freezy, rocking the spot. Welcome to Vibes and Stuff as I adjust this camera. Welcome to Vibes and Stuff. Um, we are gonna have one of the toughest conversations that we've known to have on the channel. Now it'll be tough. It'll still be fun for you guys to come and hang out and listen to in my realm, what would be considered an all-star panel of people. I got my homeboy Nate, who rocked the spot with me here in the Carolinas. He's a rising star in the real estate field. At some point, we're going to do a show together for those of you guys that are interested in buying houses and properties and want to ease the purchasing process. Nate and I will get together and do. We're going to do some shows, right? Because you probably have what it takes to be a homeowner and just need some help. And Nate is an expert, right? Secondly, I have some folks from our Knicks universe that are going to come in and speak to some of the issues. The conversation today. Today's topic is, what is race? That's a very tough question, right? It's a very open-ended question. But we're going to take 90 minutes to 2 hours to break down what it is and how it impacts how we walk, talk, go about our daily lives, and how it impacts corporate America, education, and some other things, right? So first, I want you to check this out. Look at this. All right. So first of all, let me bring in my homeboy Nate. I'm gonna bring in Nate first. Hey Nate, how you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. How about you?
Good, man. Everything technically okay? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
All right. All right. So I just want to introduce my man Nate. This is the person, y'all, that I introduced in the very beginning. He and I go back a long ways. We have ties to a lot of stuff: Freemasonry, business, just entrepreneurship. We have a long ties going back into a lot of different things. So in a conversation like this one, this is one person I knew that I had to be here, right? All right, let me next bring in Hector. So Hector and I are like kindred spirits. He legit, when he speaks to a place, well, let me say this. He eloquently phrases stuff in the way that I think it, but I don't know how to talk it. And we hit off from day one because he could do that and do that well. Right?
Salute Freezy, salute
Right?
Nate, salute to everyone that's out there. Thank
Right.
you for having me here.
Hey, no doubt, no doubt. I'm gonna bring in my ace, Staffordon. That's my Staffordon is my twin brother. You know what I'm saying? We do Lawrence tears together. We have some medical issues that are similar. And so I find myself having to get on him just a little teeny bit. But this is my
All
ace,
love.
and I love him. I love my man dearly. And I gotta
Blessings,
bring on
blessings, and respect.
I got to bring on these two fellas together at the same time. Ron and John, still Knicks fans, bro. I am the biggest fan of what it is that y'all. In case y'all hadn't noticed, I try to be like y'all third member. I try to be the Ricky Bell of y'all New Edition. You know what I'm saying? Secretly, you know what I'm saying? But what would a conversation be like with a dude that can genuinely rock the spot? Like Ron know how I feel about him on panels and stuff. I don't think you can get much better than Ron. I think he's I don't know if he understands how gifted he is at it, but you know, him and John, they do stuff together. It's fantastic, bro. When I see them do things together, like on screen, the chemistry is impeccable. You can't get no better
Mm-hmm.
than that, except maybe me and the next dude that's about to come on. D Poetic. D Poetic,
Yo,
this is our guy right here. D, what's good?
I'm good, yo. What's up with y'all?
Chilling,
Good.
baby.
Amen. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to have the conversation about race, right? But I didn't want it to be a racist conversation, right? What I wanted to do is have people listen to people speak about race from the perspective of the people that are going through the thing about race. I had like 4 white friends that wanted to jump on, no lie, hand to the man. They wanted to jump on and say, yo, man, I know this race thing, man. I go through this every day. Every day people say I do such and such. I dig it. From your perspective, there's a perspective to be said. But on this turn, we want to have the people of color express their views about everyday life and certain things so that people can understand where it is that we come from first. And then if there's a healing process, then I can get my white friends on with everybody else, and we can go through like a healing type thing. But first, let's start with this. Do you guys feel like there is a race issue in our country?
Who do you want to start with?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Quincy.
Not
Oh,
just in
what
our
about
country and Western society.
Okay. All right. So how
How about
we
how about the whole world? Not just Western society. It happens out east too.
Yes, I agree. The Caribbean also too.
Absolutely.
Right. And so the reason why I asked that in a general sense is because I believe generations that are younger than us may not understand to what extent the race issue infiltrates everything that we do. And when I speak to them about it, I sound like a cranky old man that is stuck in his ways. Right? Like somebody just legit, I was legit told over the holidays, man, it's not 1997 no more. People don't live like that. And I was like, wow, 1997? Is that how far you go back? 1997 is your line of demarcation? That is 1997 is your we shall overcome moment. So here's the thing. I want to ask Be Poetic this first.
Why me?
Just because I love getting him going. I love getting D Poetic going. Right?
You know I got knowledge of self, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. No problem.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Without me sounding like a racist, I'm not, bro. I'm to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not that person. Do I understand? Well, yeah. Let me start with myself first. So I'm not that person. I'm not an overt racist, right? I don't believe in if you ain't black, you white. I don't believe in any of that stuff.
Right.
I'm more of a person that either if I like you, I like you, and if I don't, I don't. And it doesn't matter if what color you are, what race you are, because I think sometimes people confuse color and race also. Like they confuse a lot of different things, right? I like to think that if a person is a good person, then I can rock with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like to be around people that I feel like are better than I am. That way they stretch me to become the best version of myself. But I do believe that there are certain things set up where everybody doesn't get an equal opportunity. Right. And it's not because of education, and it's not because of where you come from. I think there's a system set up where if you don't meet a certain criteria, you're just not going to get the opportunities other people get. Am I wrong in believing that?
No, you're right about that. You're definitely right about that. I mean, we here in South Carolina.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
We like still, 20, 25 years behind everybody else.
Still Confederate flags on people's lawn, ain't there?
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yep.
definitely. And I
North,
mean,
North,
not
Carol-
small
North,
either.
North
Not
Carolina
small.
and South
You ride
Carolina
through
was
some areas, you ride through some areas, and they have them like 100 feet tall, flying in the air, loud and
Wow.
proud.
Wow.
Yeah,
North Carolina and South Carolina was the last two states to legalize interracial marriage. Those are the last two states that stood against it.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Hey, so you brought up a point. So since you snatched that out of my bag, Hector.
Oh no, you got to throw the D is balling. I'm waiting for he going first. I ain't
Yeah, what happened,
You
right?
you snatched
I'm sorry. That's just my ADHD. I just blurt random shit out. I'm sorry. I
You just
apologize.
snatched interracial relationships out of my bag. So I want to get to that later. But since you started it, let me ask you this. How do you feel when you see people of different races in a relationship? Hector.
Don't have no issue whatsoever. Now, the only question that comes about, and I've seen this a lot, it's are you in a relationship with somebody because you're in a relationship with them because you bond on a certain level, or are you in a relationship with them because you have a fetish? Or you fetishization that person? Because a lot of people want to be like, oh, I can't say anything racist. I'm dating a white. I mean, I'm dating a black woman, or I'm dating a Spanish person, or whatever. Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. We've had slave owners that had babies with their slaves. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything.
Right. So John, what do you think when you see people of different races in a relationship? Does that do anything to you, or is that do you not even notice?
Nah, it like makes me cringe inside. It's like I'm fucking with y'all.
I'm about to spit my water out.
What did he say?
I grew up in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Like that's just the norm for us growing up in Brooklyn. So maybe, for me and my family, the intersection between races was sort of normalized at an early age, at least for me. Now, when I speak into terms of Puerto Rico and family members in Puerto Rico, there is parts of that where there is this stigmatization around, Spanish folks dating, black folks.
Yeah, melanin, right?
And melanin of any kind, so
they uplift the Eurocentric viewpoints.
Absolutely.
Oh yes,
100%.
yes they do.
And it's changed over the years, I must say. I mean, I'm talking
So I don't
about
understand
early
I don't understand what
I'm
you're
talking about 70s and 80s. So for instance, if you were a person of color and you lived in Puerto Rico, right? Because Puerto Rico is based we're Tainos. So Tainos are mixed between African American slaves and Taino Indian slaves and the European settlers. And so that is what Puerto Rico is made out of, right? That's sort of what the mix is. But between that mix, you have people of higher melanin, right, who are darker skin. And at some point in time, that there was a sort of stigmatization around dating a darker person. If you were from a lighter skin family, they were opposed to you, marrying or getting with someone of a darker race,
even though they're Puerto Rican.
Absolutely.
It
was,
and you have to watch the term Puerto Rican because Puerto Rican only means rich port.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to understand that our colonizers gave us that name. That's not our name.
Yeah. If I could just add on to, I'm sorry, stop. If I could just add on to John's point when he talked about like Puerto Ricans, Boricua, it's a mixture of Taino, African American, and European. So Tainos, the indigenous population that was there, that's a mixture of the Arawaks and the indigenous communities that were already here in America. Because if you look on that whole Caribbean line, when you consider Puerto Rico, Cuba, the tip of Miami, Jamaica, Haiti, all of that, those were all like, exactly. Right. And learning the what I've been learning, I will never call that area Hispaniola. To me, that will always be Haiti. That will always be the land for Haiti. To me, that's just my personal opinion. Just how I view
and
it.
it's funny that you say that, because I was just about to bring that up, because in the country where it's at, the Dominican and the Haitian, it's one country, but it's split.
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
And the Haitian people that was living in Dominica, once you're dark skinned, they ran them out and say they had to go back to Haiti.
Yeah, there's still laws. There's laws right now that are enforcing that policy.
Right. So things like that are still happening
Mm-hmm.
in this world right now as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
So just to John's point too, with the Dominican Republic and the Haitian people, although sometimes they mix intertwine together, and you can still and you're light skin, no, you're dark skin, but they still wouldn't accept you because you're dark skin.
Mm-hmm.
You're not light skin.
Yeah.
Even though you say you're from Dominica, but you have
Mhm.
a father that's Haitian also too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like 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 like
go
with
ahead.
Roberto Clemente, right? It's a perfect example. We all know Roberto Clemente as being the first Latin player to break into major leagues. No, he is the first dark-skinned Latin player to break into the major leagues. The Yankees had the Garcia brothers in the 20s. There were Dominicans that were light-skinned that were playing in the 40s. So it's always been, colorization, and the Caribbeans has been crazy, and in America has been crazy as well.
Right.
If you ask a Dominican, they would 90%. Now it's different because you have a lot of the youth learning and teaching themselves, and it all starts with education and just
Right,
learning the
right.
past. Everything's an onion, and once you start peeling back that onion, everything just unravels and everything just lays itself plain out.
And to keep one thing, and see, Freezy, what I would have done was that I would have asked, "What is race?
Well,
What is it, and who developed it?" Because race did not always exist.
Race to me, and from what my understanding, it's a social construct, right? That's why I said in the Western Hemisphere, it's a big problem, because when you go to different parts of the world, like different parts of Africa, they don't do that whole race thing. It's like, what part are you from? What tribe are you from? And that, and
Correct.
therefore, it's over here in like the Western Hemisphere. That's why if you bring a Dominican
Correct.
from DR and bring him here to the US, and they be like, no, I'm not black, I'm Dominican. No, my man's like. You are like you're black. You're not Dominican. So that is a problem that has been circulating in the Hispanic or Latin community, or Latinidad community for years. Not just in the Caribbean as well, South America as well, because there's a lot of Afro-Indigenous Mexicans that is a
Yes.
big part of that population, and they don't even
Yes.
get recognized. You turn on
Yes.
Telemundo and stuff, all you see is just like the Spaniards, like the European
Yeah.
centrics.
These light skinned, almost white. Right. Correct.
Yeah, they don't look like my aunt. Like,
For real.
Yeah, man.
And back to the topic, as far as relationships when I with different race. When I was growing up in Trinidad, and we had carnival, there's a lot of tourists used to come down, so they could be from Germany, Sweden, Australia. You know what I'm saying? And they will all come down to a party. And the funny thing about it is that most of them love black people,
Right.
right? And they come from these places and they come to have fun. Most of the times when as a young man growing up in the islands, my grandfather's son, he owns a little tourist spot, and when they come down, he comes down with these exotic women, and you
Mhm.
want to believe, like, where does he find them from, right? And I never really thought about it, like, why is he with this type of race? But it never bothered me,
Mm.
right? So from growing up from then till now, I never see it as a problem. I just figure out, okay, if two people like each other, that's how it should be, right? Is
Right.
is all about that feeling and
Mhm.
that connection.
Right.
So to answer your question, Freezy, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's normal once two people like each other, no matter what race, what creed, as long as they find that a bond from a man and a woman come together, they are one, no matter what race.
Right.
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 I'm sorry, gentlemen. I'm a few minutes late, so I didn't catch Freezy's question. Let me say salute to the panel first off. Freezy, give me the
Salute,
question
salute.
again.
Respect,
And
respect.
I'm just listening to
Huh,
Fanak.
I was there.
I want to catch the whole concept before I take part.
No,
But
no
Freezy,
doubt.
who's the question again, brother?
No doubt. So here's the thing. We are about to have a conversation about race. right? And race means different things to different people, right? But before we can get into how race defines us, Hector snatched a question out of my bag without knowing. So instead of answering a little bit and then going back to it later, I just decided to just go ahead and talk about it since the cat's out of the bag. Right. And so what I asked is, how do you feel when you see two people of different races in a relationship? Right. I wanted to save that for like hour 2, but Hector is, you know what I'm saying, he snatched it out of my bag, so whatever. And right, and so when with me and so the fellows spoke to a certain thing, but I come from a different background. Right. So the background I come from is this. And I'm not telling you that I feel this way, but this is what I was taught by my family members and the people of my race. Right. The people of my race had a real problem with, say, your black son bringing a white girl home. They had a real problem with that. Right. I don't care. Right. But what I'm saying is certain things about race that may be wrong are not just things that we go through naturally. These things are taught. These are behavioral things taught by family members and such. Like even on TV or in movies, anywhere. The most disrespectful thing for to see out of your family is for your family to come up poor, your son to go off and make money and not marry a sister. You know what I'm saying? Not go get a sister. The most disrespectful thing to the family is, back then, I'm not saying this is the way that it should be. I'm saying this is a line of thinking, is that your family your daddy poor, worked at the mill, barely made it, worked a side job. Mom worked 2 jobs. She worked at the mill, probably a seamstress, and then cleaned houses in the evenings before she came home. Right? So 2 people had 4 jobs. Right? And by the time you saw them, it was about 10 o'clock at night. They come in the house, dead tired, beat you for something that you ain't did and went to sleep. Right? But then they send their son off. They made sure their son went to school every day, graduated from high school, went to college. Then the son went off to college, got a good job in Cleveland or somewhere, or Detroit or somewhere. And the first thing he did was go marry a white girl. And everybody back home felt like that was disrespectful, because that's not the way that the dream was supposed to be. The dream was supposed to be, you were supposed to meet the girl the opposite from you. The girl, her parents worked 2 jobs apiece, put her through school. She went to the big city. She met your son, and they got married and had a happily ever after black family. Right? And you even heard it in music. I heard Ice Cube say in one of his songs, "Be True to the Game," about how the first thing a black dude do is sell out and go marry a white girl. Now listen, I don't have no problem with races at all. Right? I don't have no problem with races at all. Whether man, I got dear white friends that I love. I got 2 dudes in my life, man. 2 white boys that I love like they my brothers. I love them, bro. Like when something bad happened to them, I'm gonna be there. I'm telling you, like they my own flesh and blood brothers, right? Something happened to them, man. Something happened in their family, I'm crying like it happened to my family. I can't help it because I love them that much, right? And it's not just because they white, it's because they human, right? It's because they're human. It was like when we met each other on a human level. Like the 2 dudes, they started caring about me more than I was caring about myself at the time. They asked me questions like, "Hey man, you got food in the refrigerator?" And I'm like, "What you mean I got food in the refrigerator? I'm a man." And yeah, I'm a prideful man. They're like, "Nah, don't take it that way, bro. Everybody's struggling. We just want to make sure that you straight. If y'all ain't got no grub, bring the kids over here. We cooking out." Okay. I bring my kids over to their house. They all cooking out. And when we show up, they don't treat us no different. When we walk in the house, they not like, "Yo, such and such," and then Nah, they like, hey man, we got food in such and such. Take the kids out there, man. Go fix them a plate or something, man. All the kids running around, man. Don't worry about nothing. Hey, and Nick know who it is. One of them is Ted. Ted treat me just like that. That's my brother. You know what I'm saying? I love that dude with all my heart. But here's the thing. My family didn't raise, or not my mother and father, but I'm talking about beyond them. Beyond them, the generation before them was like, you can't trust such and such. You can't trust white people. You can't trust. Their thing was, if they ain't black, they white. And I'm like, what you mean if they ain't black, they white?
What years was that?
This is the 70s, 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, that was
kind of warranted.
Yeah, right.
Specifically back then.
Right, but the thing is I used to have people on my block like you know what? I didn't know there was such a when I was a kid. All I knew was Spanish. I didn't know there was such thing as Puerto Rican and Dominican and Spain itself. All I knew was Spanish. I thought I treated all people that were Spanish the same way. I didn't know that there was a difference. But when my people came up from down south and they saw Spanish people, you know what they said? They white. Like, and you know, they not white. No, if they ain't black, they white. And I'm like, but I'm like, but look at him. He darker than me. So what? It don't matter. Look at his hair. This is the kind of stuff that we used to deal with. So we had to overcome certain things. So when I see people of mixed races together in a relationship, I legit am telling you from a level of sincerity that it don't bother me in the slightest at all. I'm like Staffadan.
Let me ask you a question. Please. Does it bother you if it bothers somebody else?
It makes me wonder who that person is.
Or does it bother you? Or do you just...
No, you mean, or say for instance, if I got a homeboy that interracial relationship bothers him, I'm questioning why it bothers him.
Right.
I'm not questioning the couple. I'm like, yo, what does it matter to you that two people that like each other because they have different races are getting together? They over there with them mixed kids.
Now,
hey, bro, what makes you talk about?
What makes his answer right or wrong to you, though?
So the thing is I won't judge him. Like I won't judge. Okay, let me rephrase that.
I think you are scrutinizing though, because you are basing his perspective on how you view the character.
Really, and what I'm really doing is wondering how I allowed people like this to be around me. That's what I'm really doing.
Because it shows their values. What do they value?
Yeah. Because in the grand scheme of things, what if my daughter wanted to marry a white man? Is this joker that judged them gonna then start judging me and my daughter? I thought we were cooler than that. You know
respectfully, what I'm saying? Though, respectfully, you're judging him at the same time, though.
Yeah. You see, Freezy. I hate coming in with a question or with a state with an open ended that says, well, here's the thing. But I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm gonna say it anyway. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. You see, a lot of the older generations, you know, that hurt, that suffering, that our great grandparents and our great grandparents and stuff had to go through and stuff, they didn't talk about stuff like that because it's too painful. You see what I'm saying? When you hear about the second great migration, or I don't call it migration, I call it, well, you had to get out of Dodge to save your life, to save your children. Right. You know, if they never talked about it with you, you understand? You don't really get a hard concept of what it was like. You understand what I'm saying? Or what it was like for them, and why their feelings, even to hatred, is so relevant to them.
Right.
That don't make them bad people, because I'm not saying that you're thinking that they're bad folks. Let me clear that up.
Okay.
But if you grew up knowing that at any moment in time, a segment of people can just do whatever the hell they want to you, whenever they want to, however they want to, and you never talked about it, but yet still your children, they grow up, because as you said, these are learned behaviors.
Yes,
Kids don't know any better. Kids,
right.
You play together when you're young, and it's not until you start growing up a little bit, all of a sudden differences are then made. A line is then made. Little Bobby that you used to play with, up until 6th grade or something like that.
So yeah, that's about the time. Yeah.
You're not playing with him in the same way anymore. Or if you saw him, it's like he with his crew, you kind of with your crew, and his crew may chase you home every day after school, and he may be a part of the crew. See what I'm saying?
But y'all was friends in 2nd grade.
But y'all was friends in 2nd grade.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or your father might have worked for his mother and his father. You see, when you undereducated and you don't have the information from those generations, there's like a missing link. And then when you come home and you bring home certain people, and they're treating them like, well, all right, we good, but I don't really want you to be with them. But then they explain certain things to you. That don't make them bad. It's just like certain things is so bad to talk about, you forget about it. See what I'm saying? I'm gonna give y'all a quick story. I used to work someplace many years ago, and in my cubicle, I used to have like a collage of shit. Cars, women, this, that, whoever. But in the middle of the collage was a back page of the Newsday when Celia Cruz died. Right? She was the center of the collage. Just a big picture of her passing was right there. And one of my Hispanic Latino sisters, who was not dark skinned, she comes to my cubicle and she goes, why do you have that woman there? Why do you have Celia Cruz there? And just from her tone, I knew where she was going with it, right? So I looked at the picture and I was like, who? That black woman with the big nose? Black, she no black, she Cuban. There used to be a time where I used to get into these conversations, and I used to call myself educating a lot of Hispanic, Latino, whatever the term is, of the origin and your origin, and the black grandmother and the black grandfather who you thought was there just to kind of wipe your nose, that no, that was your grandparents. You see what I'm saying? And here she is like, for the mere fact that I said black, and in her eyes, what she really meant was African. You see, that's the stain. That's the thing that so many of us we don't want to recognize. See, it's once you attribute that, no, your origins, you African. You know what I'm saying? As Curtis Mayfield said, you just, the top of a dark well. That's the part that so many of, our brethren, Latinos or whatever will forget, or even our own black folks.
We have knowledge of self, though. We understand that our ancestors are from Africa, bro.
Yeah, but having knowledge of self right? And I'm not saying on a totality.
Not everybody though, because
No, I'm not saying on everybody or
I mean those
totality.
that have knowledge of self, not everybody.
Right.
Because there are some really smart people out there, even in this chat.
You got a lot of white Tinos out there that be speaking out their ass and don't know what they're talking about.
That be
that
be speaking out their ass, Project.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And when I tell people,
and
racism, right? It's a power structure, right? The ism at the end of it shows you that it's a power struggle, right? It's a social construct that only 1% of the population benefits from. One thing I can say is that anybody that's on this panel right now, we can never be racist or be defined as racism or whatever, just because we don't have any power in the structures that are. We are Boricua, we are from the Caribbeans, we are African Americans, we are from different parts. This structure that we're talking about, whiteness or whatever, perpetuates and empowers white people. Now, we could be prejudiced as we could be prejudiced as hell. That's one thing that we could do.
Or discriminative.
But we don't have powers in the structures that be. Perfect example was there was a couple, interrelation couple, black woman, white man, they were going to sell their house in California. They had somebody come to, remortgage the house, to assess the house for the price value. Once the person saw that it was an interrelational couple, they devalued the house. They went to get it appraised 3 or 4 times, and it was always under the market. Once they removed every picture of that black woman and her family, that house was worth 3 times than whatever it got appraised for. So nobody could tell me that's not just a disparity in the system.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I would vouch that there's documented evidence of not only cases like that in California, but everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everywhere, you know what I'm saying?
All over the planet.
Yeah. But I just because the thing that I saw, the study that I saw was based out of California, so it definitely happens all over the place. So I was just pointing to this one case study that I saw out of California.
Right.
But yeah, definitely.
But what I want to point to is I want to get Hector's feelings on when he sees certain things. I want to know how Hector feels. Like. Oh, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
No. I'm sorry to say, but when I brought up earlier, when it comes to the interracial couples, I have no issue with it. It's the whole thing about if the couple's actually with someone because they want to be with someone or they're fetishizing someone.
So if it's fake.
Yeah, just to let people know out there, whatever, my political leanings, I'm a communist, full and through. This system that we live under, capitalism or whatever, I always tell people, and I use this analogy, you cannot be anti-racist and pro-capitalist at the same time. Capitalism, it benefits the exploitation of the global south, of the continent of Africa, and of parts of Asia. You cannot say that you're anti-racist, but you are pro-capitalism, because capitalism is the privatization of the means of production. What I mean about communism is a stateless, borderless, classless society where nobody is left behind. You cannot just get there from one day to the other. That's where you have socialism. Socialism is an economic democratic structure where the workers owns the means of production, not private interest. The workers owns the means of production in a democratic process. So you always have to be able to shift. It is a transitional period between capitalism and communism. When everybody says, oh, socialism never worked. Yeah, because when you have outside forces that are cutting other countries off of trades and economic practices with other countries, of course they're not going to work. And of course they're going to fail. Right. And that's my TED talk. I'm sorry.
So to answer, it's just a veggie back. It's like this, bro. Your spirit first, physical second. Understand that. So it don't really matter what race you are. But since we're in the 3D in the physical realm, right? There are things that do have to be considered. So I'll give you an example. For example, when you see an actress on screen, right? She has blue eyes or green eyes. We're like, wow, those are beautiful eyes. Do you know in genetics, those are actually the weakest form of eyesight on the planet? Yeah. They can't see the whole color spectrum. Right? People that have brown eyes or dark eyes rare. And stuff of that nature.
But since it's rare, even though it's the weakest because it's rare. I mean, it's well, you get what I'm.
I'm just saying that they can't see the color spectrum like a person with brown or dark eyes would. Right. So there is a thing to that. For example, for somebody that has dark melanin, their relationship to the sun is a lot more powerful than somebody that has less melanin. So there is a thing to that in this physical realm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to think
No,
about that when you start talking about races and stuff like that as well.
no, absolutely.
I'll also attach to this, saying that even if someone has let's say they just have a fetish, right? I think it's all beautiful, in my opinion. I think mixing up the races, whoever you want to be with, I think it's beautiful. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're all human race. So that's the bottom line. We all bleed the same blood. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just a matter of if you even want to, like, if like I think you stated, like, if you're attracted to someone, if it's a fetish or whatever have you, then you're attracted to that person and you want to, I guess, experience that. I think you have the right to. I don't think anybody should be confined to being with one particular individual. You know what I mean? If you feel like that's something you want to explore, and to that degree, I don't know where else we can go from there. You know what I mean? Because again, like, you guys started getting into the political realm, and that's also intertwined into everything that we're talking about, right? Because politics also breathes into racism
Or even
towards
an
one
entertainment
cause.
industry or music industry,
Everything.
or all
Everything, yeah.
industries puts that to a demographic and they decide what was the best value for them. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well,
Oh,
curiosity kills the cat.
well, yeah, I knew somebody old school was gonna say that.
Well,
So,
and
excuse me, just my input,
since
fellas.
I'm an
I'm
old
trying.
school, I said it.
Go ahead.
All right. So, guys, how do you feel about a race that's saying, like, stick together, embrace your people, keep it in the body, whatever you guys go to. Would that be considered racist?
No,
Yeah,
I don't
No.
I
see
don't
that
think
as racist.
so.
I think so.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I
I
think
think that
every
I
I
don't think
think
that
every
is
race does
racist.
it. I think. Go ahead, bro. My
Because
bad.
Yeah.
the
It
example that
depends on the
Cash brought
reason
up,
why.
right? The example that Cash brought up, and to the analogy that you brought up a few minutes ago, Freezy, when you talked about the kid going to college and the family being upset or whatever, that's a reactionary action because of an inherent fear that's
Right.
been going on.
Right.
Generational trauma. It's like it's passed down, generational.
Yeah.
Everything is like
But
passed down. Like, yeah.
is it a
And
fear or is it a fact? Is it a because that
what if
those
it's not?
things happen to put that fear in place?
Because
So that's a defense mechanism that should be passed down so generations don't forget what has happened.
Right.
right.
Right. So, Simeon, I'll let you know. I'll tell you my backstory and why my family thought that. Right. So my family is East African, are basically East African slaves. Right. They were brought to Virginia. Right. Both sides, both my mom's family and my father's side of the family, both sides come through Virginia, through ports in Virginia. I'm sorry, one was bought through Virginia, the other one was bought through Charleston, South Carolina, right? And so they were not new slaves to Virginia and South Carolina, but they were brought over at the beginning of the slave trade, and this is based on the stories that I've been told, right? So we are old slaves to the country, like going back as far back as 1600s. I don't know the exact year and all that stuff. I can find it, but it's not relevant for this, right? Basically, they're not 1800 slaves or 1700 slaves. They were slaves that were bought back and then made. Anyway, what happened is on my father's side of the family, right? On my father's side of the family, he was owned by the Thompson family plantation in Fairfield, South Carolina, right? And so what happened was during that time, over the years, the Thompsons and our family, and nobody knows what our actual African slave name was. Nobody knows, but whatever, it's not important for this. We'll just say X for this exercise.
Those languages do exist still in Africa, and you can still find them today.
Right, that's what we're working on. So we were
Okay. Right.
But what happened is over the years, our family lightened up and lightened up and lightened up to the point where when you look at Uncle Freezy, you think Uncle Freezy might have a white parent. I don't. I don't have white parents. I don't have white grandparents. Right? What happened is over the years, the Thompson family were having babies with the slaves over the years to a point where anyway, the point that I'm getting at, is this: when you look at when the point I'm getting at is the trauma that Hector spoke to was a trauma of physical abuse, like physical abuse and rape, and so in our family, to a point where, you know what I'm saying, my family started trying to run away, get caught, get beat, brought back, whatever. And so when they talk to me, they talk to a sincere mistrust of white people, not because of what they heard down the street, but because of what they saw when they were little kids and what their family members had told them through stories through the course of the years. So when they finally sent Lil Johnny off, Lil Johnny, light skinned just like me, you know what I'm saying? So let's send Lil Johnny off to Detroit to get so that he can get a job or whatever. And he marry a white girl. That's the last thing that they wanted to have happen, because of all the emotional trauma that they had carried along over the years, like what Hector was saying, the emotional trauma and things of that sort. So their thing with race was not a deal where they often had the physical and emotional traumas of their parents. They didn't. They were probably just discriminated against, right? But the family passed this thing along, like, man, just keep our, stay. If you want to live, stay black, basically. And so that's why when they made those things, like if they not black, they white, they meant that because all they wanted was for their family members to stay safe. You know what I'm saying? But now, Uncle Freezy, I don't agree with that, bro. I live a different thing, right? I live in a different time. I live in a different society. While that society is still not totally safe for people of color to walk around or do anything, it's not as bad as it was for them, is what I'm getting at.
But Uncle Freezy.
So, can I? So
Uncle
I
Freezy,
don't mean to interject, right? Go ahead, dude. I mean, go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Simiz, go ahead.
So, right, I understand everything you're saying, and from the trauma aspect, right? You're speaking from, you say most of your family's East African, right? And and you're speaking from a trauma of an East African slave family brought at, you said 1600s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And but the first term that you use when they not black, they white, or that thinking of, marry black or stay black, that there's also a demographic that you're not covering, and it's the African American or the indigenous black people that were here before slavery.
Right.
The
Very good.
The FBA.
If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sorry. The the indigenous, the aboriginals, right? That were here before slavery, right?
Right.
Yeah, Ivan Van Sertima has a very good book on that called I think when we were Americans, I think it's called or something like that. I'll get the name, but
right?
he gets right into that topic.
That's a lot of division. Division. I don't even know the word, man, but there's so many.
Oh, my bad. His book, his name is We Were Here Before Columbus. I was just saying real quick that his name, the name of the book is that We Were Here Before Columbus. Ivan Van Sertima. Right.
No, because a lot of people mistake is Columbus never stepped foot on the continental United States. He died 50 years after the British came to the Massachusetts or whatever.
Right. We're talking about the Caribbean.
The country I'm from is called St. Christopher. named after Christopher Columbus.
And, but the thing I
Right.
wanted to get y'all to notice too is there was, while I did mention the stay black and live side, the side that I didn't mention is the white Thompson family side. So because when I mentioned that, remember I just mentioned the race mixing and how Uncle Freezy got to be his complexion. It's not because my parents are white or my grandparents are white. None of that stuff. What I'm telling y'all is the Thompson family mixed with those slaves and created what it is that you see today. So when we celebrate now that we're healing and can speak to each other, we talk that when the Thompsons do their family reunion, we go over there and eat just like, hey, what y'all got on the grill? Because it's 2022, and even though this thing started back in the 1600s, that's still our family. Whether we agree to what those family members did or not, one of those things we can try to deny what happened in history, but no man can rewrite history. You can't rewrite history.
Can you
Knowing your
get can
history,
you
knowing your history is the most important thing of all. Whether
yeah.
it's bad or good, just knowing where you have
Right.
your origins, or to know who your
That's
people
Yep.
knowledge
are,
I
how
itself.
was just about to say that.
It's
Freezy,
knowing your
I was gonna
the
ask
funny
Freezy,
thing.
are you able to? I apologize, my fault. Freezy, have your family? Have you guys ever been able to trace back any family history before that interjection or before that whole thing with the Thompsons? Because that's the issue, right? Like myself, D is Ballin, and John, right? We could go to Puerto Rico, and the furthest we can trace back our family roots is to when our first family member accepted Christ as his savior. That's the furthest that we can trace our
Yeah.
family back.
And
Let me
that's a
tell you
We
one
great
thing.
can't we
and
can
that's
never
a
trace back before then. My fault, D. Go ahead.
no, it's all good. That's a great point because,
I say
for
one thing to
example, there's like some like pro Taino guys, right? And it's like, okay, cool. Like, where did we come from, bro? Like before we were in the port, right?
Yeah.
Where were we before that? And they can't trace it. They're like, oh, Siberia, oh, South America. It's like, yo, bro,
Let me
like,
say
No.
one thing.
you know
Let me
where
say
we
one
came
thing.
from,
Let me
bro?
say one thing to my Boricuas, man.
Go ahead,
My
Cash.
grandmother was Arawak. You know what I'm saying? We're from St. Kitts though, but she lived in Puerto Rico. But she's dark skinned like me, so she was a maid out there. You know what I'm saying? And then she moved my whole family out there, who's also dark skinned like me. But then when they came to New York City now they're Puerto Ricans. But they're not actually. Well, they got a lineage that they don't try to embrace.
Yeah.
Because they speak a language, because that's so important. A language is it gives, being able to speak to your people in a dialect that's for y'all only is so important to
to,
confidence.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the
Yeah,
restroom.
it
I'll be
to your
also
right back.
it
nationality,
also
to your
it also
nationality.
build
Yes.
yeah, your nationality,
Here,
but it
here the
also
funny
builds
thing
your
about that.
identity. You know what I mean? And
So
part of
now,
that, go ahead,
so
sincere.
my bad, not to cut
No,
you
go
off.
ahead.
So that's a great important point, right? I want to stay right there with it, and I want to stay right there with it when it goes to now. Like Freezy said, his family's East African, right? You trace that back. You could go to a language, right? You could go to a tongue where you can speak to your brother in, right? I'm African American. I'm so-called African American. Excuse me. My lineage goes back to indigenous of this land. My people wasn't brought on no ship. My people was not slaves or nothing like that. But yet and still, I have no tongue. I can't talk to my African American brother in a whether it be
Different
Creole, whether
language.
it be a patois, whether
Hey,
it be Spanish.
you have a tongue, my brother. Pause, but it was taken away from you through years
Colonization.
of
Indeed.
yeah.
True
You know what
indeed.
I'm
True
saying?
But the
indeed.
beauty is that it
So
still exists, though.
Even so,
so
right? And
right.
that's always something that affected me when it came to your family were free black aboriginals of this country.
Mm-hmm. And
You know
how
what I'm
so?
saying?
Yeah, how so, bro? Like,
No. I'm going off what you're saying. You're saying your family was free black aboriginals of this country. Yes.
sure did. Sure did.
So and I believe that Aborigines traveled this. I think it was what they call it, Pangea. and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think
Pangea
like
Turtle
Yeah.
Island. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
think people were together and travel and you
Settle
know,
this land first. Yeah.
but no, I'm saying that today there's whole communities that's saying, you know, don't be down with them black people or because they wasn't here. You know,
Absolutely, absolutely. My whole thing is like when they
and
when they get back to when it gets back to the whole stay black and staying within race or whatnot. It's it's more so
even black,
preservation.
not even black. I'm talking about black. What type of black are you? Like
I
we
get
get
what you're
that.
saying. You know, no, but that's the micro. I mean, that's the like
Macro.
That's the
Yeah.
when we
macro,
Yeah.
talk, that's the macro. Excuse me. So when we talking about it, right? When we talking about the micro of it, it's like, yo, stay black and stay to your heritage, right? I mean, and even more so, stay to your culture, stay to your Haitian, your Jamaican, your Saint Croix, your Puerto Rican, and it's not. And I don't think it's racist, bro. I think it's the preservation of your culture, and I think that's
right.
monumental when we on the land, right? When we're on the land that is an Aboriginal and Aboriginal indigenous land that is pieced out to every other race.
I just feel that
I
I just
will.
feel like we were separated and that we were given, you know, these, you know, whatever we rep, you know, and all
It's
that.
sin. It's sin.
Here's the
It's what
thing.
I brought up. It's what I brought up earlier. My fault. There, I make it real fast. It's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
brought up earlier about it being a power structure, right? Like none of us here have a seat when it comes to the power structure of like racism in the Western Hemisphere, right? So when you brought up staying in the Haitian community or staying in the indigenous community, indigeneity and stuff, it's all a reactionary to the white supremacist society that we all had to live in. Like, and I bring it back to Puerto Rico. It was illegal to speak Spanish and have any Taino language in Puerto Rico to the 70s. It was illegal to speak Polynesian or Hawaiian, you know, indigenous roots or practices in Hawaii. So this is all just trying to like understand it and break it down. So when you say it's us relearning our traditions that were taken away from us, go ahead, D. My fault.
I was just gonna mention something that Sincere said, and I'll just say this: I'm not gonna accept the term of Puerto Rican.
No.
Like we shouldn't
Okay.
accept the term of
Okay.
African American.
I
We
don't.
shouldn't accept that.
Absolutely.
So I think those are like the first steps, right? So like language, yes, language is important. But if it's a language that wasn't developed from my ancestors and it was a language that was given to me by my colonizers, I shouldn't be speaking that language. You see?
True indeed.
Like,
So
right.
D's balling, right?
But we're all speaking that as we communicate right now. We're all
I
speaking
know
a language
that's the
that we
That's
matrix.
the
That's the
crazy shit.
matrix.
Yeah.
We're all talking English right
exactly,
now.
Yeah.
exactly. So now
Right.
to break
D's balling,
down,
right?
wait, now to get back to the original, we all have to be home together to even orchestrate or archetype that. We all have to be at home. Like we all have to be in grandma, big mama house. Whether it be your big mama, your abuela, or my big mama, grandma, we all have to be back in that house to develop that so that distinction can never happen again.
Yeah.
It's
When you
different.
look at the socioeconomic issues that's affecting the places that where we come from, Puerto Rico right now is being suffocated by the Jones Act, right? You know, Cuba is being suffocated by the sanctions. DR is being suffocated because privatized companies are going into DR and trying to industrialize their resources. They're cutting Haiti off of work. Like all of that has to do with private interests and private corporations just trying to like rape and pillage the lands for resources.
It's not even that. Heck, they're also destroying the planet
When it
too.
goes to
Oh, on
capitalism
top of
right
that,
there,
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
forget about the people. They're destroying the planet we
Oh
live on.
yeah. Yeah, they always like to point out, oh, you know, in China and Asia, India, that's like where all the pollution come from. Those are American companies, Canadian companies, European companies in those countries operating.
So an example, right? How much meat do we consume as a nation on a yearly basis?
Oh,
I think it's
ridiculous.
I think it's like within like the billions, right?
Yeah.
And what's not understood is that when you do that, right, there's an ecosystem that exists on the planet.
Yes.
So when you're killing mad animal life, right, you're actually destroying the balance of the planet.
Yes. Yes.
So understand that.
Where did the Black Plague come from, D? It's because once they started putting all those farm animals together, right? The agriculture revolution, once they started having farms, cows, sheep, chickens on a land for the first time ever, everyone got sick from disease.
Well, Right.
So my
Right. Because
brother, how you feel if somebody says like, you acting white or you ain't black or you ain't acting black? Like, what does that come down to when it comes to
I
race?
personally don't give a shit as long as I'm
Hey,
truthful.
let me. All right, so let me get some others that hadn't been able to jump in and speak. Let's hear some
Be right back.
from Nate and Ron and Stefan.
Yeah, let me get on this one.
So Ron, when you hear the term, and thank you for that question, Cash. That was dope. But so when you hear the term acting white, how does that rub you as you go forward?
Well, first off, let me say two things, and then I'm gonna get right to the question. One is I have been really quiet because I'm taking in all this information. This is all knowledge that, some of it I'm aware of, but a lot of it I'm not aware of.
Me too.
And so I appreciate you guys talking. So I'm schooled to a lot of this stuff. And the reason why this is also so very important for me personally is because I don't know my history. I can't trace my history. My mother was adopted and she doesn't know her history. So therefore I know nothing. So, this then, which sucks, but this is life. It is what
so
it
your
is.
history starts with you and your mom.
Correct.
Wow, Ryan, and you can't go any generations more than that.
Yeah, let them finish.
Wow, that's crazy. No, I'm quick with my question. So wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I have no knowledge and I can't track it down. It's wild. So, but what I wanted to say in regards to that question, Freezy, is that question obviously is my whole life. I've gotten it since I was a little kid. I can't control the way I speak, the way I think, the way I process information, who I can, I'm around, the type of things that excite me. It is what it is. My voice is what it is. I have a deep voice, but I speak the king's language, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I talk, I pronunciate my words for the most part. And ever since I was a little kid, I always got this whole thing, man, you sound white, or you trying to sound white.
You are Idris Elba. You are Idris Elba. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not trying to sound anything. I'm me. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, I was one of those kids that I used to say big words before I really knew the meaning of them. I would say stuff like metamorphosis. Like I don't.
Ron, was there any point that you tried to like maybe dumb yourself down or fit in or?
I did it.
There were moments, Ron. There were moments, right?
Yeah. I experienced that.
Together, so
I did it in two realms, right? One, when I went to college, no one knew me. So when I went to college, I just came in. I went from Ron to my surname Dre.
Ron G.
So I was Dre, and I just was regular. I didn't try to, I tried to be real quiet. So I didn't change the way I talked, or the words I may have dumbed them down a little bit, but I just stayed quiet and be that staying quiet gives you a certain level of mystery. So you look at people look at you differently. So that's what I did. And then the other way I dumbed it down is in school with my writing, because if you talk a certain way, you write a certain way. And my professors and stuff used to be getting on me and telling me, oh, well, you're expounding, you're using these big words. And the average person, while it's nice, they're not necessarily going to understand exactly what your point is, what you're trying to make. So I had to wind up dumbing down the way I would write. So those are the two ways that I wound up doing that. But yeah, I've gotten that my whole life, and I just deal with it. It is what it is, because what happens is, as kids, it's tough, because that whole you sound white, you're not acting black, or you're not this, you're not that. All you can do is suck it up and deal with it. As you get older and people mature, then you notice that the people around you don't see that anymore. They just see you as a person, how you speak, how you carry yourself. They just like you for who you are. But when you're young, yeah, it's a problem. And that's the reason I actually look at it like a blessing, because you know what? When I was really young, it affected me in my community, because I am an only child, don't have the whole big line of family and heritage. So I didn't have my own people to gravitate to. So
you got a brand new nephew right here for me. I'm your new nephew, Ron. Just know
I
that.
appreciate that, brother. So
Cousin
when I
Rose,
was
cousin Cash over here.
so when I was young and like growing up in the community that's very mixed between black people and Latin people, sometimes I would run into that problem with the black people in my neighborhood wouldn't really accept me as much. So guess what?
Right.
The benefit of that is I started to gravitate towards my Latin community, and that's how I met people like John and other people that I've grown up with, and that's how we forged these great relationships. So I feel better. If anything, it helped me be more well-rounded. So I
Yeah.
appreciate all those lessons I learned from it.
Hey,
So that's pretty much my
Ron,
take on it.
when you say that, Ron, that shit, your story is very similar to mine in a sense, as far as growing I was the only boy. I had sisters, and it wasn't close to my. It was either real younger than me or real older than me, and I was like I'm black, of course. I was like I wasn't ESL, but I had an accent, and the majority of people around where I first lived at was like white Jewish or Asian and stuff like that, but more Western, like so everything was like popular, everything like that, Pokemon cards, this and that, and then literally when I was in that neighborhood, like we wasn't living good. We was living in a small apartment, but when my family bought a house, we bought a house around more black people, so now that's my new environment now after spending at least 12 years around all these these people here. So now I get to the town and dudes is like, yo, what's up? Yo, what? And I'm
Culture shock.
and that
Culture
had
shock.
it wasn't no Spanish, it was only black. So but I kept going in, my parents kept me in the schools over there. So it was conflicting, and because I got to spend more time in the neighborhood. So it's like the black stigma, the black word, like that be trying to be whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's not hood because all our parents own houses and they had good jobs and stuff like that. But we all was like, no, we gotta be more. We gotta be more black. We gotta be more down. We gotta be more. We gotta be more this. We gotta be.
That's
It was
social
like,
programming,
Yeah.
brother. That's an
Yeah,
experiment, man.
and I never understood that. To be honest, I never understood that. That's why I never accepted it.
It didn't. I'm not gonna say.
Yeah. I went through the
Ruin is a
same thing
better
myself
word, but
growing up.
it affected a chunk of my life where it was a lot of stuff. Like now it's like like before it was like police were like like champions, and now it's like you getting stopped and frisked. But I'm the same kid in the other neighborhood. But it was just strange to see because like I used to like Corn and Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock and all that stuff like that. But
I
now
like that rock shit too.
I get to the town, I didn't have the new G Unit mixtape, so I'm out the loop. So now I gotta go.
Yo, I
Yo,
think
But,
but
but
I
that's
think
that's
that's
that's the
love and
thing too.
survival.
Chuck Berry
Love
created
and
rock and roll.
survival.
Guaranteed.
yeah, but
He
that's
did the
that's the thing. Like
I listen to all of them.
beats too.
if you look at it from what it is, it's all teachable and learning lessons in life, man.
It was
You
just
you
strange
go through
because
these. You
them same
well, I'm saying you
friends
go.
I had, and them same like other racial friends I had. Like when I got more in tune with maybe my roots, maybe I think because I felt comfortable. Like it was like I may not have felt too comfortable in other circles, but I got comfortable. Like it was black people, they was eating the same food like me, and it's food, it's music, it's your grandparents, I believe that gives you your it's I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, them same people, like, yo, bro, like, yo, back up, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Cash,
Right.
you gotta understand, man. Listen, just look at it the way I look at it. We were fortunate because we were exposed to a lot. We got a lot more information at a young age that allows us to kind of develop and formulate our own opinions about who we want to be as people and how we see others. So that's how I look at it. You know, it's the best as the best of both worlds in my mind. And the other thing is, let me tell you something. You know, you feel a certain way because you understand that things are going on around you that you got no control over. But I also know that I was also that kid. Like, I would be in different homes. I could be, you know, I was accepted in certain white homes. I was accepted in Latino homes that wouldn't accept anybody else of my race and color.
I love going to my white boys'
Right.
houses. Like, their parents used to make the best hot chocolates with the, oh man, I'm telling you, bro.
Yeah, man.
Nowadays,
Hey,
like, we
hey,
used to get, yo, I'm telling you, like, my mom, she would just do the Swiss Miss in the joint, da 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 da. I'm talking about, I would go to my white boy house. He had the Hot Wheels set all around the house. I'm like, they had floors. I'm like, yo, hold up, man. I would go home to my parents, like, yo, what's up? Like, you know
yeah,
what
But
I'm saying?
right.
Yeah, but yeah,
I think you
but
gotta be
let me ask you a
conscious of
question.
the.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
D.
but let me ask you a question. How could it be the best of both worlds?
Ooh,
Okay,
let me
well, I'll
before
tell.
we
Go ahead.
let me do this first. Let my man Simiz jump in because he's been trying to jump in for a minute.
Oh, my
And
fault. My fault. Go ahead.
and then we'll definitely get to that. Simiz,
I
can you hear me?
definitely want to go, but I feel like I really want to go after what Anthony was about to say. I feel like he's about to he's about to go into a nice little spill because,
So
like, what I was about
so
to say is
Anthony,
basically,
ask the question and then Sin just hit it out the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. You did, Ant?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening to you, fam.
Go ahead with your
You was
question.
about to say something. I want to follow you. I want to come after you. That's all right.
Well, I don't want to ask the question and then answer the question. How could it
All right,
be
so
the best of
What's the
both?
question?
How could
What's
it
the
be the
question
best of
again?
both
So
worlds?
They just asked the question.
he said, so "How is that the best of both worlds?" Basically, just from my analysis of the situation, when Ron was first starting to talk, my first question was what do you if you had a clean slate and you was able to just look at all these different cultures of black or different races, where do you feel like you more identify with? Like, what calls to you? Because at the end of the day, this is what you are is in your DNA, and your DNA basically will talk to you and tell you. In a sense, if I feel like if you're
It's
conscious
true.
enough and you are quiet enough with yourself, exactly who you are and what you are, and then you could go out and do these some of these tests if you believe in these DNA tests and whatnot. Secondly, when you two brothers was talking about, your different, you grew up here, you were accepted here, and that's great, and I applaud that because I think we all were able to, like you said, we all grew up. Our family all have houses, right? Our family all have some type of money, so we all not poor. We all experience different things, experience different cultures, right? At least on this panel, I'm not saying generationally wise, because when you went to the hood, when you moved to the hood, those are people that are brought up in survival. Maybe not always loved. They didn't have those uh benefits of
That's
being in
why
good schools, right?
Sin. That's why it was strange to me, broski, because like I moved to the hood, quote unquote, because that's where they would allow my family to buy a house at because of like upper redlining acts and stuff. We couldn't buy a house where we lived at, even if we were able to, But then
Yeah,
we lived in a like it was like a new community, so
yeah.
it was just mad differentiating things. Like you said, it was people, you know what I'm saying, going through their things, and I didn't understand it.
Exactly. So I'm not disputing nothing you say. I just kind of want to like clear it up, like kind of categorize it, like if, in a sense, do the inventory about it, like so because
Yeah.
there's different, and even when we get into the interracial things, there period is people brought up on love and brought up on survival. And when we talk about this hood or this black mentality, it's mostly survival. with love mixed into it, right? So when we
That's a
talk about
fact.
the ignorance of it, it's not an ignorance, it's survival. This is how we have to be to survive on this land that we are ostracized on, that is our own land in some cases, or that we have no choice but to be here in some other cases, in some other races. You understand? We
Or
have
your
to
family got
identify
equity when it
what it,
comes to labor and being descendant of a slave, just like Freezy brought up earlier.
But
see what
Hector,
I'm
here
saying?
the thing about it is, right? Here where my differences come in, right? Because I think I have the best of both worlds too. I grew up in the islands for the majority of my from about 2 years old to my teenage years, and
Mm-hmm.
then I came to America, and I experienced the life living out here, right? Now, just to go back to the lineage real quick, is that my great great grandfather looked just like Dee's Ballin, and he was from Cuba, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to Trinidad. He had my great grandmother, and then he had my grandmother. She went to England and had my mom, and then with on my other side, my great great grandmother, she was just straight Indian, right? As black as I am, my hair is soft. I can't even twist it to say, all right, let me get dreads, right? Because of
Right.
the heritage that I have back
Mm-hmm.
then. But back to where I come from now with the racist thing now, right? Now, when I was going to school back in Trinidad, right, where I come from in the hood, we call it Laventil. Now, if you Google that right now, Laventille, you will see it's the slums, right? So
Hmm.
when you go to these particular places in Trinidad and you go for a job, they will ask, where do you come from? And I will say Laventil, and they'll say, nah, nothing good doesn't come up on that side, right? And then when you look, you will see mostly is Indian people have the jobs, lighter skinned people have the jobs. So we was experiencing racism
Mm-hmm.
in a different way back in the islands,
Yeah. The
right?
political parties are literally split up, the black party and the Indian party out there in
Right,
Trinidad, if I'm not mistaken, right?
right, exactly. So now let me transition back to America now. So when I come to America now, I went to Abraham Lincoln, Coney Island. Now I do not know the slang. I don't know the lingo. I don't know anything. So I'm walking, I'm seeing the, everybody in the latest gear. I'm thinking I'm having the latest gear, but guess what, Hector? I was buying the gear off of Flatbush Avenue on the street. So everybody was laughing at me. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Even, and it was my own black people. It wasn't like a Puerto Rican or a white people was like, yo, let me show you what's the lingo, whatever may be the case. Now it was my own people. You understand what I'm saying? So when Samir talk about also to survival, that's another thing that I say that I love with both worlds, because when certain things happen, like say for instance, like a hurricane or earthquake, I know how to survive without certain things. Certain things in America up here, people do not know how to survive. They will actually starve to death.
But
Simple
since
thing like a coconut tree in the yard, right, is good for you, and you may think that that's a hazard to you, but that coconut water is good for your heart.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
Sin
So,
Man could contest to
right?
this. The U.S. government took years with agriculture and took like trees away from the indigenous community that usually
Absolutely.
just drop
You can't
acorns that
even,
was the size of your head that you could feed yourself off of,
yeah,
salmons that were like the size of sharks that what we see, and you
Right,
can't, like, the indigenous
right,
community
right,
literally
right,
protected the land and
right,
like knew how
right,
to take and how to give back.
right. So
nah, I can't
certain
say that. I can't say that, Heck. because you know like some of us said, we seen different sides of coaches and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And I done been in coaches in on certain planes on the West Indies where, you know, like dudes is like, yo, man, we gotta catch up in the bed, or we gotta share a pot, or we gotta eat together, or whatever. And then I done been, after school broke with my old boys, and they the only one that could get a sandwich, and they like, nah, I ain't giving you a piece of my sandwich, bro.
That's a fact. Because in Trinidad, let me tell you something. We got a thing called
Run
um,
a boat.
run a boat. Exactly. Right? Everybody from wherever you have, if you have a pound of flour, you have a banana, you have chicken, we put all of that stuff in the pot outside together and we cook it. And then when it's cooked, everybody get a bowl of food.
So
Yeah,
yo, what I'm
that's just
saying,
like
so
with Puerto
right?
Ricans too. My
So
grandma
that's
would feed
great.
everybody.
That comes from exactly what every last one of y'all is saying is from the best of both worlds, right? You have two worlds. You have an American world and you have your nationality world. You have a home country that is your world, that is
Your
your
culture.
culture.
I'm gonna keep
When you
it tall
say
with you, Sin.
Trinidad,
I'm gonna keep it
right?
tall with you, Sin.
Hold on, wait.
I'm like,
Please let me get this off. Let me
Hold
get
on,
this
let me
off,
finish.
bro.
Let me finish.
let
Let
me
me
Hey,
finish.
too much
Please let me
cutting
get this
off,
off,
man.
bro.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Right? You everybody on this, whether it be I don't want to say Puerto Rico and disrespect you, bro, but I just to talk right now, get it out, so I don't want to hold this up. You got
Boricua,
Puerto
Boricua.
Rico, Boricua, you got your Boricua home country, and you got America, right? That's your best of both worlds. Bro just said Trinidad and America. That's the best of your both worlds. Bro said his home country, which was a few of them, multiple home countries, and America, right? For us, where we have one world, we got one world, bro. One world. And yes, I love my brothers and I love every shade of everybody, bro. But how does it look when I me give up and I'm with it? I'll share my last, bro. That's what I'm about. I'm about quality. I'm about everything and building, right? But how do it look
Same.
when you just said like, yo, like my bros in the hood, I can't even get a piece of the
But
sandwich.
you know
Like
what? No.
Yeah,
that's
but
Hold on. You
let
know
crazy,
me
what?
let me
right?
say
Hold
let me
on,
say this
Let,
too.
hold
I let
on.
him
Did
Let
you
me
let him
cut him off
Hold
finish,
on, let
man.
him
again?
finish. Let him
That's
finish.
an
You ready to cut
individual
him
thing.
off again?
That's an individual thing. That was the Fat Boy
No,
city,
hey, Cash,
and I
let
think
him
when
finish
it's
what
like
he's
that,
saying, Cash, because my man we can't get the gist of what he's saying. We can't argue with
It's
what he's
mostly just
saying if you keep cutting him off.
And we got to start cutting people's wisdom off. People are giving experiences and their thoughts and stuff like that. Let's start cutting it off. Let's start hearing it, please.
Yeah,
all
good,
right, so
good,
right.
son.
Cause it's mostly like I ain't gonna say that you were generalizing that, Cash, right? I ain't gonna say that was every experience, but we could all. I bet everybody on here could agree that most black people in the hood, nah, you ain't getting a piece of what they got, right? You say back home, niggas will bust that pot open. Even people from back home in the hood will bust that pot open for you, right? And I've experienced in my own country. I only had one world. I don't got. This is my home country, bro. Let's remember that. I don't got no home country. Like this is my home country, right? So I know both sides of that survival. I have two sides. I got a well-off side of the family. I got a family that ain't got it, bro. And the well-off side would be more so like, nah, I'm not sharing what I got. But them people that ain't that well-off, they give they last. Like, so it is a survival. It is a survival and love thing at the end of the day, and it gotta be broken down to you gotta look from the inside and out. Like,
saying
Uh,
you just explained it better than I could ever have said it. I think that's what I meant more so than the different cultures. I think I meant where I was at before, like folks was down. You know what I'm saying? And it was ready to, because we when we all down, we all up together. But
exactly, exactly.
when you had, and mind you, I came here when I was 3 years old, so this is all I know, really. I know
Mm-hmm.
but I had a small family myself, so it wasn't like I'm not here like, you know, nah, it ain't even. Well,
Now I
what
feel
I'm trying
you,
to say,
but all I'm
yeah,
saying is your birthright is more than just this. So you have the best of both worlds. Like regardless of what you know or
right,
you
yeah,
your bloodline, your birthright is more than one world, right? You have best of both worlds, right?
that's right,
And
right.
and that's what we gotta realize. Sometimes we take experiences and we internalize it, and then we look harshly at something, like, or we look judgmental at something, not to single nothing out or nothing. Like that's why I asked Queasy, like, all right, so what makes that guy who said interracial dating is wrong? Like, because to him it may be that, listen, nah, my culture, which I don't have a lot of, which is only one world, I need to preserve that because I see the best of people have the best of both multiple worlds, like, and my people ain't gonna have no world soon. So
Right,
sometimes
Well,
right.
you have to
it,
understand, like, when you ask a whole panel about is interracial marriage like good or bad, right? It's a subjective conversation, like
Yeah.
most conversations,
absolutely,
because
Right.
it's due to
absolutely,
experience and your perspective of the matter and your environment and what principles you brought up with in order to
Right.
bring that conversation at hand. So,
Right.
I mean, it's all subjective, brother.
All right.
Right.
So let me.
I want.
Oh, go ahead, Ron. Let me do this real quick. I want to
Yeah.
reset real quick. For those that just jumped into the just started watching and kind of don't understand what it is that we're talking about. So here's the thing. This is Vibes and Stuff. I'm your man, Uncle Freezy. I'm joined by a panel of a lot of people that I consider my friends and that are smart. Because I have a lot of dumb friends too, and I ain't gonna bring them on here and let them talk. But the smart ones, I bring them on here and let them speak because they speak to wisdom, right? Love y'all dumb friends, but this ain't the platform for y'all,
this ain't for
right?
y'all.
So,
This ain't for
yeah,
y'all.
yeah, yeah. This ain't
I snuck
this,
in somehow, but it's all
uh,
good.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm a dumb too. I'm a
hey,
little dumb too.
so I just want to say we're having a conversation about race, right? And while we are we're hammering home the point on certain topics. I'm gonna move the conversation along to let it evolve so that we can get input from everybody on the panel, right? But before I want to do that, Ron wanted to jump in and say something. We want to let Ron build or say what it is that he got to say and and help that conversation along. But I do want to move the conversation along into other directions. So because we're in case I hadn't don't feel it, we are getting short on time. We're coming up on 90 minutes already,
Right.
right? And the
Right.
time frame I had set was for 2 hours, right?
Right. Right.
So
I agree.
if we can move, if we can go beyond 2 hours, that's cool. But what I want to do is for those that can't, I want to give them enough time to speak to what it is that they came on here to say, and then that way, everybody can get their get their
Input,
points off.
opinion.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yes.
Right, right. And all I really wanted to do was one, I just wanted to say something, make it quick to Anthony's question about how do you consider it the best of both worlds. But I really wanted Nate to have his chance to speak because I know Nate didn't have a chance to really speak. So I guess it was already answered in different. Sincere brought it up, and Cash like it was already answered in different ways, and Staffer answered it too. But to me, I what I look at it as the best of both worlds, most because some people, I mean, if you're really trying to dissect everything, some people might say, well, I mean, if you know me, you know that I have a really good understanding of Latino culture and heritage because when I wasn't necessarily accepted early on in the Black community, they accepted me and they saw what the type of person I was. And me being, I think, a decent person, I was like, when Heck says his abuela would be feeding everybody, guess what? I would be one of those people over there at your abuela's house because she would accept me and understand that, oh, I'm a good kid. It doesn't matter if I'm black, white, whatever it is. And so because of that, like I said, I got to see a lot of a different culture, actually two different cultures, Italian side and a Latino side. So I saw a lot of that, right? And then, I don't have a lot of family because my mother was adopted, but my mother does have a brother and he has family. He had like 8 kids. So there was people that I was around of my own culture, if you want to say it that way. So it's not like I wasn't exposed to both sides. I just, you might say that maybe I spent more time around, the Latin side of people, my friends, and also the Italian side of people. Like I've seen a lot of that. So I think it's the best of both worlds for me because it allowed me to not have internal prejudices. I didn't formulate opinions about people's race or color. I formulate opinions about people, how they treat me. So I don't look at anything. You can't tell me. And if you're talking about the whole point about judging people, would I judge a person for looking at an interracial couple and not being comfortable with it, yeah, I would, but not because of the fact that you might have been raised a certain way to look at that and say, man, that's another person that's not really building within, keeping the lineage
Absolutely.
going. I'm looking at you like those people are in love. That got nothing to do with you. It shouldn't affect you. I understand what you want to do and what you want to preserve. So you do it. You preserve it, and you continue to build, the lineage of your family and your bloodline. So that's how I look at it. I'm not opposed to anybody. You don't know how much I've gone through and seen in life, friends, family, whoever, that have said, "Oh yeah, man, I don't like this person. They did this to me." You know how white people can be. No, that person's an asshole.
So Ron, to veggie back off your point, right? It's that the answer Anthony D's question is this. And I'll answer his question with a question because I love doing that. What's wrong with having both worlds or all worlds?
Let me answer the question.
Experience from all spectrums.
Let me answer the question. Because
I was ready to get into your question, but okay. Go ahead, man.
Let me answer that part of the question. Far too many times since the beginning of time, people come into Black culture and take and don't add.
That's not true.
See?
But, okay.
No. That is true.
You talk about white opinion? History. No, I know what you're talking about, brother.
Let him finish, though. Let him finish.
No, not just white folks. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That they have predominantly done that, but far too many times, Black people are very, and I mean across the board, Black folks from all different sides of the world. Our doors will be open. You know what I'm saying? You don't see white people getting chased out of Black communities. You know what I'm saying? You don't see white people coming to Black establishments and there's a sign that says only Blacks. Never in the history of time. Far too many times, if a Black man or a Black woman decides that we want to do something over here, we can't do it over here because somebody got to come in, and even if they have the best interests, which is generally their interests, somehow, some way, we get pushed aside in our own endeavors that we created. Mm-hmm. So when I say the best of both worlds, I mean in a sense of if we can't be allowed to create, cultivate, and watch it grow.
But Anthony D, that state of slavery has existed before the white man. You know that, right?
Well, I wasn't gonna go there. I wasn't gonna go there with that. But I'm talking about the power structure. See what I'm saying? I'm talking about the power structure that's here today. If we can't grow and say, yo, every time the Black man and the Black woman has tried to say, well, you know what, leave me alone.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, Anthony.
Hold on a second. Leave me alone. Let me do this right over here. Let me have my own schools. Let me have a neighborhood where I could raise my son and he doesn't have to worry about going to jail. Somehow, some way, there's a plot that's formulated to crush that. To tear that down.
I understand. So
if a Black man, if a Black man or if a Black woman sees his better half taken out of the community and taking it to someone else's community, I don't see how it's subjective for someone to say, well, he has the right to do that. Well, he does have the right to do that, but
nobody's condoning slave mastery, bro.
No, but we're in a human construct. And I'm pointing out things that happen today. I can go to any part of time and show you where this happens. It happens today. You know what I'm saying? You can't look at today and say, well, there's a thriving Black community right there. There's no such thing.
It doesn't exist on the planet, Anthony. To be honest, it doesn't exist nowhere on the four corners of the planet.
No.
What I was trying to tell you is,
but it exists for other communities. I live in College Point, New York, which is a subdivision of Queens, which is right outside of Flushing. Flushing is predominantly.
You got money, bro.
Well, don't be watching my money, please.
I'm trying to say, can I be an intern? Can I be one of your interns?
Let me get my Winchester out the closet.
You gotta understand, like when we build with points, we build with points. You get what I'm saying? Like,
go ahead.
A point is a point is a point to a point. I don't have to make one sentence and then I have to hear you for the next 5 minutes, which is we're just negotiating a point right now. What I'm saying is that your controversy or what you're saying between what is the state of existence between the black man and the white man and present nature, what I'm trying to tell you is this. The white man, when they got on their hands on slavery, they didn't invent it. They learned it from somewhere. You see, because as you're speaking, as those Europeans go inside ancient Kemet, right, and learning about all the sciences and stuff, so you're going into the run over Alexandria and all that and the Roman Empire, and you're going on from there. I know where you're going. What I'm saying is this, is that the white man, in order for him to claim dominance and what they have today on the planet and what you're talking about, because none of us have it. Honestly, we have to ask permission to get our land. We have to pay property taxes. We have to ask permission to get a job. That's why they take our check, you see? So we are under the same slavery. I'm saying that don't attribute the power of slavery to a white, light-skinned, black, because it's actually happened throughout all peoples on the planet.
But some benefit more so than the black man or the black woman.
But anybody that's in a slave position will inherit the benefits
if you come
of
in
that.
from nothing, if you come in from nothing, and anytime I want to, I keep coming back to dig back up. That's like if I plant seeds right now and I'm waiting for the stuff to grow in the spring and the birds keep coming out and plucking out the seeds. How can I ever grow anything? How can you ever do anything?
Right, but that's every power structure, and like
right.
That's every What power structure does black man have?
We're talking about you're talking about what we're currently living through. There's been history that tells us past from the beginning of time that there's always been a hierarchy of nations.
So let me throw a perfect example for Anthony, right? Anthony, you know who ancient Kemet is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Did they have slavery? Did they practice the forms of slavery that are practiced today? Yes or no?
No. Not the slavery that was practiced, that was pronounced on the modern day black man and black woman.
No problem. So what slavery did they practice back then?
You're talking about people who are going to have wars, and I'm going to take your folks, and you're going to do my bidding over here for a little bit of time. And there was nobody getting hanged from trees. There was nobody getting castrated.
Actually, there was way worse things that used to go on back then. But my point being is that so let's throw your example, right? Let's say there's a war between two people, right? And let's say it's on the continent of Africa, which has happened throughout history, right? So what I'm saying is that when they fought, right, and they took prisoners of war, how did they treat them?
Not to how these modern folks have treated the black man and the black woman.
That's not true, brother.
That's a no. If
I just may interject.
You're trying to romanticize black history. Okay, I'm sorry.
What we want to do is get back on track because we off we way off of the topic, right? So the topic, is not slavery and world history.
Yeah. All I was saying, I'm sorry.
All you said was how can we have the best of both worlds, and we got to the history of Kemet.
No, because that actually brings to this conversation between black and white, which is the best of both worlds.
I wasn't going there. I specifically said, how can we have best of both worlds if one world is not able to grow? And I showed examples of it, which continues today.
Anthony D, and I'm gonna be real with you. As somebody that's listening objectively, you, Anthony D, and D is balling, can't speak from the other world's perspective. You can only speak from your perspective and speak it
Correct.
accurately. So
Correct.
so we can't speak for other races. You can't do that. And in respect to the conversation, you don't want other races speaking for you.
But this is what's
Right?
happening though.
But
Like,
Freezy, I was actually pro for the
what?
conversation though. I was actually a pro, not a con,
What
because I agreed that it's a whole rainbow and that everybody should exist.
But
So
no, I know, I dig it. I dig it. And you should have to defend yourself, bro, because I'm not throwing arrows at you
nah, that's not true.
or Anthony D. What I'm saying is in a conversation like the one we're having now, we should speak from the perspectives like what Hector was saying earlier. Like when we first got started, we're speaking from our perspective because of the histrionics, things that we learned through our personal experiences and things that our families have taught us along the way. That's all I'm saying. Like for instance, I don't want to speak to how white people feel about black people. I would rather somebody, what I'm saying, I don't want to, what I'm saying, go down that road. I would rather have somebody do that on their own. I know people that would love to do it, but this conversation right here just ain't the one. You know what I'm
So
saying?
I don't want to cut you off, right? But I feel like what Anthony D was saying is almost coming from the why like when you
That
text me
noise.
Freezy, it's a noise in the back. But when you
Hold on,
text me Freezy, it
hold on,
was
I
more
can't hear
like
you, Sin. Somebody got something. Hold on, Sin. I can't hear you, God. Somebody got something
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
playing
was
with you.
Cash.
it's
That was
It's good.
muted.
Cash.
It's
It's
good.
muted.
It's good.
Yeah,
good.
yeah, bro.
I just watched the whole, the conversation between two brothers, right? And what resonated with me so much with like what Anthony D was saying was a yeah, we all in this together, right? Everybody on this panel, we all suffer from white supremacy and the power structure. B, some benefit more from this power structure, regardless to the fact. C, when you text me, Freezy, it came from about this. I was like, yo, I make it too passionate because we talking about angry black men, and I identify as one, right? And everything that Anthony D was saying is kind of the reason why there are angry black men, because at that, where somebody and everybody benefits, there's somebody who doesn't benefit at all, and that's usually the black man, right? And some, even though we are all in that struggle can't identify with that, regardless to what. And the more you're exposed to these other sides and other worlds that you can escape to, there is no escape for the black man. This is it. This is the only world that we know and see. I kind of identify. I see exactly where Anthony D is going with that. I see where everybody else is coming to. Like we all suffer this. We all go through this. But like I said, from the preservation of a person or a culture that only has one world, that they will grasp at everything to keep that. That's just my
But Samir, I dig it. You mentioned that already, and we understood that. The point that I'm getting at right now is that when we have conversations like this in a big group, and I don't mean this in no disrespectful way, just hear me out on it. No. When we have conversations like this one that we're all passionate about, and everybody wants to speak, what we have to do is speak to our point, move out of the way, let somebody else speak. It's because, like, for instance, it's 10 of us here, and it's frustrating when 3 or 4 want to speak at one time and everybody want to jump in. So what I'm saying is like what we want to do is make sure the conversation moves at a pace where we can all contribute and things of that sort. Because what happens is, like what happened with Anthony D and D is balling, while I did like the direction they were going, right? What happens is the conversation will move too fast for the others in the group, and we don't get the opportunity to chime in. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is say your part. Let others respond to it. Jump in it. Like you remember how you was trying to talk and Cash was trying to jump in too to clarify what he was saying.
No, absolutely.
So what I'm saying is when we talk about these points, we're not gonna move the conversation in a direction that one person want to move it because it's not fair to everybody else that want to jump in and contribute. You
Perfect.
feel me?
It's true.
True indeed. Actual
Yeah,
fact.
and it's very tough because just this topic as well as religion are very divisive topics where
Right.
people
Yeah.
have
It was.
very strong opinions about it. And not only do you have your opinion, but sometimes when you're voicing your opinion, it reminds you of a moment or something that triggers something else. So there's a lot of passion builds up in it. So
And
this is
then
why
when
these are
somebody
tough.
cuts you, off while you doing that, it's frustrating. That you see what I'm talking about, Ryan? Like when you get into your thing and somebody cuts you off, and you're like, yo, I didn't even get to expound on what it was. But yo, I wanted to bring in Nate though, right? Because Nate sat patiently, man, and rocked. But Nate, listen, I want to ask you a question.
All right.
How do you feel when you watch your great grandpops, your grandpops, your pops all go to work every day, work on the job, man, work for where they work for the man their whole life, right? And finally is able to say pay off their house, or finally is able to get a car, or even more relatable. They have to work 3 or 4 shifts, 3 or 4 extra shifts at the job to pay for your prom, right? And then you leave the house, you go to school, you compete against people that you feel like are not as talented as you, but they always get the upper hand. And then you get into the workforce, right?
Yeah, honestly, man,
Like for
that's
instance, you walk by you. Let me finish real quick. So say you at Francis Marion, you watching kids walk by, they don't never do no work, right? And then they graduate with honors, right? And then you graduate barely, or you might not graduate at all. And then you see them in the workplace, they slack and they lazy, right? And then they wind up being your boss. And these are people from like different races and such. You like, yo, man, Richie ain't never did nothing in school. Richie barely made it. Richie used to cut school so much. Richie went to, I don't know how he made it out of Francis Marion. And then now Richie is your manager at Fleet. And you see him in his cubicle with his homeboy Tommy, who also ain't never did nothing. And now they managers, and you outworked them or you felt like you outworked them the whole way, right? And you like, yo, the only way Richie got here is because his mama, Miss Karen, is over such and such department. That's the only reason why he got. How did that make you feel as say somebody as a man, like knowing your best efforts and your talents won't be recognized because some people are gonna have the upper hand regardless.
right. I mean, it's actually a wake up call. That's really what happened to me. Just grinding, like you said. Working for the man. Trying to do doing what I saw my parents do. Doing what I saw my dad do. Working 2 jobs. Trying to make it. I mean, after a while, you just get to that point where you're like, this ain't working for me. I can't do what everybody else did, to make it happen. What am I going to do different? That's why you got to always have a backup plan. You got to pivot, and handle stuff a different way.
Did you know that initially though?
Not initially, but after talking to people, man, like really you have to, what I've learned, man, you got to find people like on their same level that you can have that conversation with, because you're not the only person seeing that. If you're seeing it, you at least have 2 to 3 people around you that see the same thing the same way you do. So once you get together, just like we're having this conversation now, it's 10 of us here.
Right.
By having this conversation, more people are going to see it. More eyes are going to open. We're just going to affect more people. So right now we're affecting the change that's going to come in this year and the years to follow.
Okay. Hey, I say that because I have a couple personal experiences, right? Like for instance, I have a bunch of college degree work, a bunch of it, right? And
Right.
I feel like nobody is gonna outwork me, right? But I've been in situations where guys that may have had similar college degree work or maybe less get more opportunities because they look the corporate America part. Like you know how you see the I'm giving you an example. Hector, you see like the Edward Jones commercials on TV, the financial advisor on TV on the commercial. I work with a guy that looked that part, right? But knew a third of the stuff that I knew and constantly came to me and asked me questions at work. And then and what will happen is I would see my boss always at his desk shaking his hand, good job, man, such and such. And so I'm like, man, they really like you, huh? He's like, yeah, I'll be supplying them with them answers they want. And I was like, well, how do you know the answers and nobody else do? And so he like, I know where to look. And the look he gave me was, I was his resource. When something hard came up, he would come ask me. And then preemptively, he would go tell the boss. And the boss would be like, oh my God, I never even thought of that. Right? So what happened is I was like, oh my God, I've been the fool. Right? And so what happened is I was like, yo, so he came to me one day and he asked me a question. I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. Let me get back to you on it. Right? Then something happened in the office and the boss was like, yo, why did you tell me such and such was going to happen? And he was like, oh, who could see that coming? And then it dawned on me that the stuff that I knew was helping the department, he was getting it from me, telling them early. And then what happened was when I stopped supplying the answers, all of a sudden we had problems. And what happened is my man, he realized that I wasn't going to give him no more answers. He polished up his resume and then he left the company. He moved on. Right? He parlayed what you ever heard the thing is not what you know, is who you know.
You know, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
he parlayed it's not what you know into knowing something, developing a relationship, moving up, rushing up his resume. And when I was done as his resource, he moved on.
Yeah, I've had that happen as well.
Hey, John, that ever happened to you?
That's happened to me my entire career. But I was able to push through a lot of it and sort of showcase my skill level in order to make people see what I'm capable of doing. Because nothing was given to me. You know, I was born and raised in the projects of Williamsburg houses and came from
Wait. Which houses?
Williamsburg houses.
Bro, I'm from 930 Mace Avenue from Pelham.
There you go. So we neighbors. So you know what I mean? Like it's, you know, like not for a lot of us, nothing was given to us. We had to work hard for what we received. You know what I mean? And count our blessings as we go on along the way. But you know, you're always going to get overlooked in certain facets of what you do. I think there comes a point of your maturity when you start realizing that you yourself have to put yourself first and not put others in front of you. Like for instance, like you were saying, like, you know, you have folks that come in and sort of got to where they got without actually having to work, and because they knew someone, they got that position. You know what I mean? There are moments and times where you're always going to have an opportunity to speak your truth or to show your truth or to show your value in any organization or any place that you work in, and not allow another person or individual to dictate when you have the opportunity to do so.
Do you think race in the workplace has a lot to do with that?
Absolutely, it does.
Like for instance, do you think, and I'm asking this from a place of sincerity, do you think sometimes people of color are looked at as not being as smart or hardworking as those that you know, or those that are white?
I would say, depending on who you work for, in corporate America, that's automatic, right? That's pretty much guaranteed, right? Most corporations aren't built through people of color. They come from, you know, a different sort of class, and so that part of classism sort of identifies that sort of structure. You know what I mean? And that stigmatism and you have to break through that stigmatism in order to actually be seen, be heard, you know what I mean, and be valued. And for me, that's always been a part of, you know, my growth as an individual. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that
when did you recognize that though?
I actually didn't recognize that till I was in my 30s. So most of my 20s, I was sort of introverted in the way I thought in when I was inside of the workspace. And I was afraid because I felt like because I come from a double language, that I didn't feel like I can express myself in the way that folks can understand me, or I felt like I didn't have the education or the vocal education or the language education to speak on what I knew how to do. You get what I'm saying? Like I had the education, I knew I had the skill level, but I didn't know how to express that in front of my peers because I felt like I had my own insecurities that I wasn't able to get past. And so I've learned as I gotten older to get past that. And what helped me was having children of my own.
How? Like what's the motivator there?
The biggest motivator was and I can recall my son was about 4 years old, and he told me, "Dad, why can't I have dinner with you?" Because I used to work an evening shift. He was like, "Why can't I ever have dinner with you?" And that sort of like, I was like, "Why the hell not?" And I'm doing it to myself because I'm becoming an introvert because I'm afraid of my insecurity,
right?
Because of what I grew up believing in my, you know, and sort of that construct that was brought to me by, you know, America, basically living in America. And so I learned to sort of be a little braver, you know what I mean? And when you start to be brave, you start to believe in yourself, and then you build from there.
Okay. Okay.
Freezy, could I say something real quick?
Yeah. Come on, bro.
Yeah. I have a older friend that's at my job, been working for BMW here in South Carolina for over 10 years. And he cannot move from his same position or even get a raise. Why? Is because he's telling me he has this racist boss that doesn't want to give him what he deserves. And he's been there over 10 years, but yet still he has seen a lot of other people have come in and have gotten more than what he has been given to the company for the past over 10 years. So, you know, in my mind, when I hear that, I'm like, yo, I need to set a foundation. As John said, true, you had kids and you have kids of your own. You're trying to make sure that they have that foundation so they don't have to go through that situation that what we are going through right now. Right? So you know, it's really hard when you hear these things that you know that you have the skill and somebody else in the workplace just comes up because he has a degree and you've been doing this job for over 10 years in the field and he all of a sudden just comes and get it. You know, you feel insecure about yourself, as John was saying. You feel like, where did I go wrong?
Right.
And you start to question yourself.
And on that point, just to stay on the kids for a second, well, so boom, I was basically saying I wanted to move to a certain neighborhood and put my kids in a certain school, and my aunt was saying, no, don't make your kids go to school around all white kids. It's gonna be trouble. It's not gonna be a good thing. But that's the best schools where the majority of the those other kids are. So I want my kids to have, you know, be in a position to be, you know, have the best education, whatever it may be. And I say no, it's my kid's not gonna have that problem. And she's saying no. You put them in the school with the white kids, they're gonna. What do you guys think on that?
If I may, because this is a conversation that I was literally having a couple of days ago. I don't believe in the concept of bad schools. When people like to say, "Oh, that school is bad," you know, that I don't believe in that concept or that framing. You know, a lot of people got to understand schools, right? It's a tool, you know, that is used in a community. A school is a reflection of the socio conditions and the economic factors that school and that community lives in.
Yeah,
Right.
neighborhood, yeah.
So exactly. So when it comes to property tax, all that goes into public schools. So when you have public schools, right, that are in quote unquote, Pelham, for instance, in the hood and stuff like that, they don't get the proper funding like schools that are upstate or in Westchester or in affluent suburb communities. Perfect example, right? The NYPD, for instance, the FDNY, right? Those are city jobs, right? Over 70% of NYPD workers live outside of the city. So taxpayers, like people who live in the city, pay the salaries of police officers who then go and take their money outside of the city
To
that pays
Connecticut.
them to Connecticut in the suburbs and then use that money for the property tax of their school. Right? We don't have that. Schools need to be funded across the board evenly. When you look at like the prison industrial complex, it's majority privatized, right? And Rikers Island is a perfect example. For one person to be in Rikers Island for just 1 year, it is $555,000 for just one person for fooding, for lounging and stuff like that. To pay for 1 year at Harvard University, room and board education, it's $78,000. We don't prioritize proper spending.
Project, let me jump in right there for a quick second. Now, I've taught vocation for a lot of my years in the professional years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, just to piggyback a little bit on what Stafford was saying. When it comes to jobs and moving up, and I'm going to tie in Freezy's question. Of course, Freezy, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't need affirmative action for people to reach certain places, right?
Yep.
Right.
Two, a lot of times, and I'm not saying every time, but sometimes within the workspace, you have to play the game. And the game is, if it's called for you to be on time, you got to be on time. Right? If that position calls for you to have a certain level of educational requirements, then that's maybe what it is. If that position or if a company that you're working with, they are maintaining a certain kind of prestige, a certain kind of culture, and then you decided to go get a tattoo on your neck or visible tattoos on your arms or on your hands, and they're not trying to show, that's not what they're trying to represent. And you're wondering why you haven't reached certain places. See what I'm saying? It's not always just because of race. I know a dude, or I was listening to this dude one day, I'm ear hustling in the barbershop, right? And he got out of jail not too long. And I said to him, excuse me, brother, you said you were looking for a job, whatever. I said, can I help you? And he was like, yeah. I said, well, the Department of Labor Workforce 1 is 2 blocks that way. I said, they have recruitment events for jobs. You having a job, whatever. It'll help you start someplace. Yeah, man, but I'm saying, and I said, well, stop 1 second. I said, matter of fact, the Department of Motor Vehicles is 2 blocks the other direction. You can go there. What I'm going to get from there? I said, you can go there. You can go get yourself a CDL driver's license book, study the book, and start and go get yourself a CDL license, because ground transportation and driving jobs are a big workforce right now where there's not enough workforce in that to fill the need. And you don't look like someone that's going to be working in anybody's office, because why? He got 2 8-ball tattoos on his forehands. The gentleman looked at me and said, man, I don't know if I want to drive or whatever. I said, I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to interrupt your conversation. And I let him go. Sometimes you have to look at what you're doing and try and improve yourself. Like John said, he had children. So that's how that motivated him to do better.
Right. I agree with you.
If I may just respond for just a second, I agree to a certain point, Anthony D. Initiatives like Workforce One, pointing people in the right direction is awesome. That's awesome. I'm for like mutual aid and reaching out, job programs and stuff like that. It's awesome. I want, my main emphasis for when I earlier talked about was education at a school level, right? So vocational classes should be taught in high school. CDL training should be an option in high school, because that young
Yes,
man
I
that you were
agree.
talking,
I
that young man
agree.
that you were talking about, right? Half of the time, I would say 90%, if you approach, one of my friends that I grew up with in the projects and stuff, 90% of the time when you offer them something like this, they're embarrassed because they don't know how to go about the process. And that's what we need to work on. Taking away the stigma of just asking a question. If you need help, cool.
And they can't go home and get help from their parents because their parents don't understand
and
either.
a CDO class is what, like 350. Not everybody has that. One thing that people love to say is that, well, someone who's homeless on the street, they could just go apply for a job and get a job. Well, you need an address to put on the job application. You need money to like clean yourself up, to buy yourself a suit and tie and stuff to go. You need access to a computer to print out and type up your resume as well. There's certain other factors, but Anthony, I agree with you when it comes to vocational and CDL. I myself, I went, to Apex during the quarantine and got my electrical certificate. I thank God that, I was able to do that during that time, but thank you, my God. But one thing I know, if I didn't have that like unemployment that was coming through, I wouldn't have been able to not work and focus on school. And
Right.
that's a lot of the issue for a lot of people. A lot of the time they are working these dead end jobs and they can't just go to school because you lose focusing. I'm somebody that at 31 years old, I was, self-diagnosed with ADHD. When I was a child, they tried to tell my parents. My mom was like, "Oh no," and she whooped my ass for me to focus in school. That's not
Right.
how you do it.
Right.
I know a lot of us probably have that same, shared event that we had as a child,
Of
but
course.
that's not how you do it. It all starts, to me, education from the ground level. And if we could just fund education across the board to everyone, I think that would be good. If we had Wi-Fi access to everyone, that'd be good.
Wait. You're doing too much. You putting out too much stuff at one time.
I'm
And
so sorry.
let me just say something real quick too,
Let's slow it
Freezy.
down. So first of all, the education that you mentioned, the education the things that you mentioned, for one, a lot of us don't come from a background where education is valued, right? So now you not only do you have to teach kids the value of education, you have to teach the parents of those kids the value of education also. Because like those learned behaviors that Hector said, remember the learned trauma and all that stuff? Well, there's also learned behaviors of this too. Like for instance, if your grandma didn't value education and your mama don't value education,
You ain't gonna
there's a
value education.
likelihood that you are not going to value education in any form the same as your family did, right?
Yep.
Now, and then the other thing too, we have to understand small things like when people say, "Yo, apply for that. That's a good job." Well, how do you define good in that scenario?
I define good as a start, Freezy.
Right.
That was my point. You see, we can put down $900 on the iPhone, but yet still we don't have a computer. That's a walking computer.
Facts.
You see, we can go out and take our last and go buy a blunt, go buy a $50, right? But we can't go to the Salvation Army and go buy a $2 tie, because why? The tie is $2.
And a couple of shirts. Yeah.
And a couple of shirts.
To my viewpoint, I don't see everyone in the hood having iPhones. Not everyone in the hood has iPhones. Just like why everyone in the hood don't have Jordans either.
Yeah, but you see enough.
Anthony D is establishing is a baseline though. Anthony D, a baseline example. That's all.
Yeah, but you see enough. You see, it's a lot of times it's what we hold near and dear. Too many times, and I'm talking more so a lot of young people. I'm not casting a broad blanket. Too many times it's what's valued. See what I'm saying? Like some cat may be willing to go get into a next scam because that scam, like what was going on here with these pandemic checks, and cats was willing to do whatever. Now all of a sudden 200,000 people got locked up because they thought that pandemic check. right? They thought that pandemic check didn't come with a receipt.
Right.
You see
There's
what I'm
no
saying? You would
Just coming from my generation, fellas, as far as education goes, I think that something that goes I guess overlooked is like real sex education in neighborhoods. It's a lot of wild
Wait.
kids.
So sex education or family planning?
Yeah,
Both.
yeah. Well, yes, Freezy. I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
Because
Freezy, as far as education, right? Let me
I just
just say a
example.
quick. Go ahead, Cass. Sorry.
All right. No, I was just saying something quick. Just because before people could even get to a point of thinking about their life, they done got burdened with a whole other thing. Well, not burden, but it's just things going on in inner cities and urban areas with family planning and stuff and kids that don't know how to how to intermingle parents that don't know how to tell them that that plan for their future, that they just end up in these situations where that dead end job might be the best thing for them. But not saying that's it, but it's just like it starts so early that by the time you may look at them as a young boy, they're already done age. They're already done like, yo, I need that quick. I need that quick fix to get to that point. They're not trying to build to that point because they're already in the hole.
Yeah, Cash. You know what I would say to that? They feel like they're in a hole, but they're not.
No, they're
okay.
not.
Right. And so just I want to speak to this real quick, and I want to get Sin Miz in on this too. Right. So some of these guys, bro, I'm gonna tell you something, man. These dudes that are 17 and 18 years old that feel like they're in the hole, you not in the hole, bro. Yo, these dudes that's 26, 27 feel like they done ruined their life and they don't have no more life to live. So they approach life like with what do they have to lose? Bro, you 27. Calm
You
down.
27,
Calm
Freezy,
down.
and this is why
Right.
so many of our women are vastly more educated than our men. Because why? They could sit down and focus and be like, you know what? I'm not gonna wait on no dude to come pay my tab anymore, right? I'm gonna get out here and go get this education, and I'm gonna go get a better job than you, and now I don't need you.
But
Yeah, that
AD,
is
that's a
so
topic.
wild.
It goes
Hey,
to
topic. That's AD. That's the topic for next week's show.
Yeah, we do that
That's the
next week.
topic for
Yeah.
next week's show. So
Oh
don't
wait,
spoil it.
early mental health, because a lot of the time, a lot of us in the hood were undiagnosed. Like I brought up me as an example. I wasn't diagnosed as a child with ADHD. There's a lot of homies that I know that listen to music. That's a tick. A lot of my friends is autistic without knowing they're autistic.
Right.
Then you got there's kids that as soon as they reach the age they already got a jacket. They
Yeah.
already got
Yes.
And are proud to have that jacket.
Yeah. But and they shouldn't be, bro. But when your uncle and your daddy went through that, when your grandfather went through that, you know what I'm saying? That's all your family knows. Sim is, hey man,
Yes,
I wanted you to
yes,
jump in here and because we probably gonna have to wrap up here, man, and so the video
uh,
won't go for too long. But
nah,
but
no
How you gonna cut?
problem.
How you gonna cut the
I
wisdom,
know.
God? How you gonna cut the wisdom?
Real talk,
and
real talk.
it's
But
like when you go to your grandfather's house, bro.
cause
When
I'm
you go
about
to your
to,
grandfather's house, he be dropping them gems, and you get them right. But at the end of the night, you gotta take your
and
ass
then he fall
home.
asleep, right?
Yeah,
so
man. Yeah, man.
I think I'm gonna have to play devil's advocate, like on a more extreme side. I don't know if I'm probably Cash or me, one of us, the youngest on this panel or whatnot, and I could speak to that fire and even so this. All right, so it's gonna be a little extreme, but it is what it is. Like this is an unnatural way of life. Like even Hector says he was like he's more on the communist side, and even in capitalism is a very unnatural way of life. Like this ain't right, bro. Like don't no young black man want to go work for no white man corporation. Don't want to go submit himself and give himself to something that's going to demean him at the end. Like you just said, you don't accept me in my image, so I'm supposed to break down who I am in my image to for a couple of dollars to survive in a world that don't even that's stepping on my neck every day, right? Um, goes back to, but at the same time, we gotta exist in this world. We gotta, so we may have kids, right? So now that's another thing that's gonna make us break down and submit to provide for these kids, because now we have to provide in this capitalistic world, right? So it's, I mean, it could go any way you look at it. For me, honestly, like I have to serve two masters in this till I get what I want. I don't want to see this system as it is. The system has to fall, and for the system to fall, we have to do extreme things. And most people ain't willing to do that because we have a family set up, we have things set up where we want to keep and protect that in the grand scheme of things aren't protected, because they could come and put a mandate and make you do whatever they want you to do at any given time. So I just feel like we gotta definitely, especially that goes back to tie into being an angry black man in society. I live and die on my morals. I'm gonna go out on my sword at any given time.
Shin,
So
you from New York City?
I'm from Queens, Lawton.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm from Springfield. I'm from Rosedale, basically Springfield Gardens.
Oh, you
man.
right next door, baby. Like you right next door. Like so.
You already know airline.
I put my math in the chat, but it just go back to duality. It's a dual world, like, and we gotta keep it understand that we need to be working towards our bigger mission as melanated people of this world, bro. Because the more
now, Shin, that you just told me you from Lawton, you cannot tell me we all out here as brothers, man, because it was a little pocket of Queens that was going at each other.
that's a fact. That's a fact. And while we living in
Man, the Bronx stand up. Where the Bronx at? Shout out to the
It's
Bronx.
Queen. It's Queens in here right now. It's Queens.
It's Brooklyn. It's Brooklyn. It's Brooklyn.
It's Queens in here right
It's a
now.
real Queen thing. But I see the BX. I see y'all. But not I don't want
I was just asking that.
As long as nobody from Staten Island, we all good, right? Right. One thing I wanted to bring up, right, and I wanted to point it to Anthony D. When we talk about like work, right, the workplace environment is going to be real fast. In this country, for some reason, when we look at theft, right, and crime, we only categorize certain things in that categorization, right? So I have some stats from the year 2021, and we just going real quick. Larceny, right? Violations, the total cost of larceny 2021, $5.30 billion. Burglary, right? $4.10 billion. Auto theft, $3.80 billion. Petty robbery, $3.4 million. That was the total cost of like stuff that was taken away. Now let's look at wage theft in the United States. Minimum wage violation, wage theft, $23.20 billion that workers did not get paid. Overtime, $8.80 billion that workers did not get paid overtime. Restroom breaks, $4 billion. And then off the clock violations, $3.20 billion. So we prioritize and we categorize like petty theft and larceny and stuff like that. But when the workers are getting robbed for pay, no one says a word.
Project.
And Anthony D, one thing too. The young man the gentleman I was talking to, he is in his 60s. He's a grown man. He don't have no tattoo on his neck or his arms or nothing like that. He is a big grown man. Old man. Probably could be our dad. But go ahead.
Project. Staffer.
What's up?
I'm gonna speak to both of y'all, right?
Yeah.
I don't think my mom's ever made $50,000 at no point in time in her career. And my mom's is Jamaican, right? An immigrant, right?
See.
But what did older people do? Right? They save their money. They take a little something here. So, and my mom's got 5 kids, right? Even as a grown big man, if I ever fell short or whatever, I could always go to her because I know she had a little something there. Sometimes my point is what we prioritize. Like John said earlier, when he started having his kids and whatever, that changed. No, I know what the stats are, Project. Absolutely. I'm one gazillion% with you, right? But until we get to that place, until we get to that, and we're probably never gonna see it in our generation, in our lifetime,
Not
but
me.
there's gotta be a certain kind of protocol that we go back to, that we adhere to. You know what I'm saying? That we value more than trinkets, more than eye candy things, more than go buying a
We
brand new
can't.
car. That's all.
Sin,
We
That's all
can't
I'm
as long
saying,
as
fam.
Sin,
No,
Sin, did you
I
as
agree
attend
long
with
as
that.
we
Yeah.
as long
The
as we
George
attribute
Floyd
everything to
protest?
money, we can't. We are
My
money.
fault,
Like
Cash. What you were
we are.
saying?
My fault. We are stuck on money, bro. Like you can never
Yeah.
break that. If you are stuck on this
And,
dollar, that is gonna
Sin, Sin,
fall
but
eventually,
Simmons,
And
bro.
let me
and
say
the
this to
and
Simmons real quick, and
did you
I
partake in
gotta
any George?
Cash. Let me
So
say this to Simmons real quick, and then I gotta wrap it up. But before we wrap up, I want to let everybody. I'm gonna go around the room and let everybody say their final piece, and be respectful of them while they speak. Right now, listen. I'm not saying filibuster. But what I'm saying is we'll go around the room, say our little joints, and then we. But send
Did
me and
you really
send me
say
as
filibuster? Did you really say
filibuster,
filibuster? I swear to God. I
filibuster.
swear to God, you got some powder on your face,
we,
yo. I swear to God.
Right.
and, yo, Anthony D, what it was is he fell asleep with CNN on. That's what it was.
You
He
know
Yeah,
what I
heard it in
mean?
his
no,
dream.
That filibuster.
so Simmons and myself had a show about a year ago in which he and I talked about the value and belief system, and he alluded to it just now, where the thing about cash. So what I'll do is this. What I'm gonna do is this. I'll start with Sin Miz. Sin Miz, if you can just do your thing real brief, because we're gonna continue to do these. This ain't the last time we ever gonna do it.
Please, yeah, I
Okay,
love this.
okay.
Right.
Now I'm gonna make it real
But
quick.
okay.
I'm only gonna keep it 10 seconds, less, man, because
Make it
we
17
got to
seconds.
we got to. I'm gonna keep it 7 seconds just for the girls. Like we got to we talked about education and we talked about money and capitalism. Like I think we gotta get back to, like, most of you brothers, you got home countries and back home, and it's about the culture. It's about enlightening and not education, not being tools to this system, and not being tools to anything that could make us tools. That's it.
All right, Hector. Go ahead and do your thing, Hector.
I appreciate this conversation. Look forward to having many, many much more. Like you guys know, I'm a full blood communist. I have the Communist Manifesto right here. Anytime anybody want to have these conversations, we could do it. You know, I love democracy so much. I want the workers not only to have democracy in who they elect, but to who's going to be their manager, their boss, and workplace regulations and stuff like that. That's how much I love democracy. I want to spread it across everything. You know, I just want to make sure that we all look towards everybody and we just look out for the person that's next to us. And America is very close to North Korea when it comes to a dictator when you look at other democracies around the world. So I'm going to say, love y'all.
Anthony D, what's good?
Well, I'm gonna say thank you for inviting me on the panel. You know what I'm saying, I love y'all more. I always try and chime in when I get a chance. I don't know if I necessarily believe in a race paradigm and so forth. I I think that people need to gravitate more to the things that they can do to help solve some of their own situations. The government is not coming to save you. See what I'm saying? And some of these things that's out there that are trinkets to us, whether it's women, whether it's material things or whatever, those things are fine to a certain extent. But we gotta remember to build the next generation. You see what I'm saying? And for those who are having these children out here, whatever, not giving them the tools to try and go out and build, shame on you. That's all I have to say on that.
All right.
Peace.
All right. John, you got something?
Sure. Let me think about this real quick. I would say that until our people of color, until we don't, until we stop continuing to follow social media as a construct to like live our lives, or just follow individuals who live a bigger lifestyle than most of us do, we won't realize our true potential as a people because we're following the wrong model. And I think part of what I was trying to say about when I sort of made that decision and it kind of clicked with me with my son was that I knew what I had in me. I was just too afraid to show what my worth. And until I became brave enough to show my worth, other folks wouldn't take me as serious. And so I had to build myself up because I wasn't taught that as a kid. I wasn't taught to build myself up in that way. And as soon as I learned that, and I think our people need to learn how to do that. Hindsight is 2020. Had I done it in my 20s, I would have probably been in a little bit better place than I am. And I'm a pretty good place right now. So I would just say this, continue to be brave, continue to educate yourself, and don't follow, like I said, the social media constructs of this world, because the media can have you twisted in the belief and believing in something that isn't really true.
Right. All right. Hey, man.
That's dope.
Man, that's moving right there, bro. Stephanon, you got something to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my little daughter. She got the AB honor roll, and she is a math master. So I want to shout her out. And education, man. Teach your kids their history. Teach your kids not only world history, but the African history, the Caribbean history, everything that needs to be done. Because me going to school out here in America, I certain histories that they teach, you don't get the certain teaching that you get teaching in the islands, which is a little more advanced, just to say, because we learn a lot of geographic, not geographic, but what's the word I'm looking for? Geography. We learn geography, we learn agriculture, we learn a lot of things down there. So if you could teach your kids certain things that they're not teaching in the school, teach it to them. Okay? And love each other. You know what I mean? Support each other. Pick up each other when your brother is down. Pick up your sister when she is down. Rally around them. Right? It doesn't matter what race, whether it be black, white, pink, yellow, purple, whatever. We all are one people, one blood. When you cut ourselves, is red. So as the great Bob Marley would say, one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel
Feel
all right.
alright.
All right. Blessings and respect to everybody.
Love you, Stapper.
Yes, sir.
It's on you, Cash and Ron. Y'all next. I don't know what Uncle wants.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, man, I just want to say it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. And basically, as far as when it comes down to race, man, I think it comes down to manhood. And I think the men from any race you from is supposed to be the utmost man. And I think that, the young brothers need good, solid brothers like you guys to, put that righteous teachings upon us that we could carry on and work on in our lives every day. Because I took everything from all you guys. You guys, pieces of my life was being spoken about. And I'm just saying, man, you know what I'm saying? Like as my brother Freezy said, man, as you said earlier, man, ain't nobody in the hole, man. We got the whole universe, my brothers.
Yeah, man.
That's peace.
Yeah.
All right. Did everybody get a chance to wrap up? I'm sorry.
Nah, we still
Anthony
got
D and
John
Ron
and
is
Ant.
left.
All right. Hey, Anthony D, you want to go ahead and do your thing, bro? 3, 2, whatever. Ron, you want to go ahead and say your piece, man, before we go?
Oh, yeah. First off, thank you guys for tuning in to Vibes and Stuff.
Yep. Vibes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm the Vibes and Stuff, as you can see. I am. I would say that now this has been very informative, very a real good look at understanding how we all as men look at our lives and how race has impacted our lives. So I definitely think this was a good look, man. I look forward to doing more of these with you, Freezy. If I had anything to say, my parting words would be Uh, be yourself. Look to who you are as a person. Whatever experiences you deal with and go through with race, don't let that be a judging factor into how you look at other people. Look at other people for the fact that they are other people. Let their actions and how they carry themselves dictate how you perceive them. And I think if you continue to do that, you should be all right, man, because everybody's from different races, different cultures, different backgrounds. But you know what? There's assholes and crazy in all of them.
Right.
Church.
And so I'm gonna wrap up here just real quick. So vibes and stuff. We have shows that you can go back and watch. A few from me and Sin Miz was fire, boy. Because me and Sin Miz had the religion talk. I mean, I'm sorry, not religion, the belief system talk.
Yeah.
And I want to revisit that at some point. Right.
Absolutely.
But we also, Sin Miz and myself also had the weed talk for those that like to burn.
Oh, I
You know
stopped
what I'm
smoking too, please. I ain't been smoking for like 2 months. So
Man, get out of here.
for real, man. For real.
All right.
So my business working.
So we're gonna have to. So Sin Miz, we may have to revisit a lot of the conversations that we had before. Now that we got a bigger crowd.
Yeah, we definitely need to take that high grade conversation.
Yeah. So the green conversation is a conversation I like to have. I like the green conversation. But I want to say also this. So want to do another joint next weekend, probably around the same time. But I want to have it to be centered around the ladies.
Okay.
Anthony D brought up a point. Anthony D. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Some of y'all dudes on this panel look like y'all don't have no game. I ain't gonna lie to you. So some of you look like y'all don't have no game, bro. I don't know. So the conversation is gonna be real awkward.
Looking at the man in the mirror.
Well, I ain't never had a. Hey, Cash, listen. I ain't never had a problem with them, and they ain't never had a problem with me. You know what I'm saying? So
Freezy, you see it's vibes and
You
stuff.
out the game.
Yeah, I'm out the game. I'm out the game now.
Don't incriminate yourself and let me smoke it hear you.
Nah,
don't do it.
Trouble.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
You gotta come outside next week.
Mo knows she is the pick. You know what I'm saying? Mo knows she is the pick.
You mean she knows she picked you?
If there's one thing that we can contribute to the men in the world, if we could get every man in the world to just naturally just clean behind their ears or whatever, I'll be happy and feel like I did a good thing. Because there's a lot of dudes out there that are just dirty as fuck and don't know how to properly bathe themselves. You're making us look bad. You're making us look bad out there. You're making us look bad out there.
We need if we're gonna talk about the ladies, we need some ladies on here to chime in, you know what I'm saying? Because it's hard for the brothers, just to talk about the ladies, and we don't.
I've been trying to get them to come on, but they be trying to blow up spots, bro. they like it, so I can't get some that I know personally because they like to bring up old shit, and I don't feel like getting my eyes scratched. I don't feel like fighting with them and my wife at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
If you ever get the chance to, one topic, could we discuss like how the brothers feel about like gun control?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I definitely want to speak.
Definitely, because I am a licensed armed owner myself, so we can definitely get into that.
And these show ideas, y'all got my number, man. Y'all already know what it is.
Let's start a group chat for this. Let's start a group chat for this. I put my number in there as well. If anybody ain't get it, I'm gonna put it again so we all can stay connected.
Yeah, somebody start the group chat. Y'all already know.
Yeah, my number's in there. Family, my number's in there too.
So AD, so what we gonna do next week is this. We're gonna have a conversation about the ladies, right? Right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what it takes for a man to... Because listen, ladies tell me often that men are cowards. They soft because a woman can tell a man wants to holler, but don't have the courage enough to come over and speak to them off jump. So now women got to be aggressive and go hunt for men, like the roles are reversed. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays. And so it's a lot to go into that. So we're going to talk about that next week. Saturday,
Alright.
7 o'clock. We'll start.
Cash, throw your math in the chat. Sorry.
Yeah, Cash.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Bet.
Cash. Hey, Cash, do that real quick. That's going to be the show for next week. And then we'll continue to do other shows. Maybe we can do this thing 1 or 2 times a week and grow it. And what I would advise for y'all to do, panelists, is invite others to come on and hang out with us. And then that way it won't just be a one-sided perspective. It won't be groupthink. The thing is, the reason why I chose y'all specifically is because I didn't want it to be groupthink. Because there are a lot of dudes that I know, we all think about the same. We all want money. We all want to drive fast cars. We all want to live in big houses. We all feel like the man holding us down. And so what we want to do is diversify the way that we think so that we can get different perspectives. But anyway, thank you for hanging out with us. This is Vibes and Stuff. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. Continue to grow this channel because this is the place. This is going to be the place where we're going to come out and we're going to have these tough conversations. Right? We're going to have these tough conversations. And sometimes people going to go off on a rant. And you know what we're going to do? We going to let them. Because they ain't got no other place to do it at. Right? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people going to want to get something off their chest. And you know what we're going to do? We going to let them.
Right.
And sometimes we're going to have to talk them off the ledge. And sometimes they're going to have to take us to church. But either way, this platform is built for us to share and to learn. Because there are no platforms, in case y'all hadn't noticed, there are no platforms out here for men with experiences, whether they are good or bad, to share those experiences with other men and not be judged. Right?
Yeah. Judgment-free zone.
Right. But you know what, though?
Bring you conversation, at the same time educate.
Now you found your place. Vibes and Stuff. We'll holler at y'all later. Peace.
Peace.
Bless. Peace.